Hey, shh. Calm down. The show is about to start. Reese on the Radio. Turn it up. Turn it up low. Turn it up loud.
It's like a dream come true.
Turn on your radio. Reese on the Radio.
Yo, let's get it.
Due to the nature of this program, discretion does not exist. It's Reese on the Radio. Right now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Oh, man, I hate the fact that we can't play music at the beginning of the show because I had a darn good one by the Gap Band, but we can't play it, and it's just too silly to sing, so I'm just not going to do it. But we are back. It is Monday, and I just want to ask one question. Whom was surprised? Whom was outraged? Whom was taken aback? I think we all were, a little bit of everything. I didn't know how to respond. It's all anyone could talk about. Don't worry. I'm not going to be like everybody else. We're going to cover so much news. But we cannot go without pointing out what's going on right now. Just recently, we just heard that there's been a strike that's been averted in Qatar. About 6 missiles flying into one of the largest U.S. air bases in the area. And that's been thwarted. We're looking at the Dow Jones with the threats of the closing of the, the Horn in Africa, where all of the oil tankers go. Still, stock market up 300 points. What is it called? The Horn of Hormuz. So there hasn't been any crazy stuff yet. And I can understand where people are. They got their head on a swivel. What's next? What will they do? We've got a lot of illegals in here, known gotaways. How many of them are secret squirrels? Which one of them is going to be the one that does something to harm Americans in the country? I'll address all of that today, as will you. Just pick up the phone and give us a call at 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. I'm not taking any of this lightly. Many people are on the news talking about how Donald Trump made us safer today. Now, as a supporter of Donald Trump and a member of what I call the MAGA movement, not so fast. See, I can be honest about this. I don't know if Donald Trump made us safer yet. I ain't going there. This is not about patting the president on the back. This is about being honest, and that's what I do here. And I don't talk that nonsense about it. I try to be as honest as possible. I'm being honest about where I stand because I'm here to give opinion, analysis, things like that. My head is on a swivel today. My head has been on a swivel all weekend. Have I been profiling? Yes, I admit it. Of course I have. Everybody is a little bit concerned, and anybody who tells you otherwise is lying to you. No one has ever walked around carefree after something like this has gone on. Everyone's been a little more vigilant than other times. You're out with your family. You're out with friends. You're partying. Or just taking the family out for the weekend. Trying to get away from it all. And there's a little bit of you who are just turning around just going, scary times. Of course they are. We don't know who we're dealing with. We know that right now we have a president who attacked the number one sponsor of terrorism across the globe. We know that they are zealots. We know that they are people who will stop at nothing to destroy America. I mean, it's the chant, right? Death to America. Some people might say, finally, we have a president who took their threat seriously. I couldn't agree more. But it doesn't mean that comes without reservations. Of course it does. It's sort of like a mixed bag of feelings. You're indifferent in some way. Yeah, we got to stop them. We have to make sure that they don't have their nuclear ambitions are thwarted. But that comes, they're not just going to give them up. So something has to be done, especially while they're trying to enrich uranium for what is only likely to be a nuclear missile. We also have a country that is using its finances, given to them by us, I might add, and using said money to fund terrorist organizations, the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, arming them with missiles, and God knows what else. Hell, we don't even know if they've enriched uranium well enough to give those proxies the ability to attack us militarily with a nuclear weapon. Do we? Do we know? I know we have an idea, but do we know? I'll get to that later on in the show. I'll take you back to 1996, a little movie called Wag the Dog. We'll get there. But I want to say something on a positive note about all of this and the President of the United States. And I thought about this because I've talked about it so often. I'd like to read a quote to you and see if you remember who said it. My idea of American policies toward the Soviet Union is simple, and some would say simplistic. It is this: we win and they lose. I want them to think I'm crazy. That quote was attributed to none other than Ronald Wilson Reagan. Now, I want you to think about that quote while I say this. I convey this to the rest of you, especially those of you on the left, progressives, people who are now siding with Iran because I guess they just can't help themselves in a knee-jerk reaction to the President of the United States. Who hasn't called Donald Trump crazy or unhinged in the United States over the last 10 years? He's been called racist, misogynist, unlawful, a tyrant, Hitler, a fascist, maniacal, ruthless, a man who takes revenge against his political enemies, wishes he were more like Putin, Pol Pot, and Mussolini combined. And most important, he's been referred to as an egomaniac who is all about his image. So why would anyone think that this president, if all of those statements are true, according to his detractors, why would anyone think that that guy picked a strategy that would put his legacy in the most vulnerable light? I'll tell you what happened this weekend. And this smattering of weird responses by whomever it might be. The media and the left, by the way, same people, they are angry that he fooled them. They wanted him to be indecisive and vulnerable to the likes of Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson. The left and the media, again, I repeat myself, were caught flat-footed. And now they're scrambling to take an opposing stand. Because remember, these folks, if they weren't for double standards, they'd have none. Donald Trump made his decision a long time ago. I know that he did. Hell, he told everyone 2 weeks and bombed them 2 days later. He was always working to get this done. He was way ahead of anybody. And the thing that most people are angry about is that he wasn't predictable. They were so excited when they found out that Tucker Carlson didn't agree with him, that Steve Bannon didn't agree with him, that Marjorie Taylor Greene didn't agree with him. Why? Because those folks by the left are considered radical fundamentalists in the MAGA movement. And they were against their dear leader. And Donald Trump went his way anyway. That's what all this confusion is about. Everything I just laid out, all of the things that they've called him over and over again. And now he left them spinning like a dreidel, bouncing from wall to wall, trying to figure out exactly what side of this they wish to stand on. That's the only thing that's happening in the news media. So I say, ignore them. It's real simple. Just ignore them. Do not look to them for your political point of view on this or where you stand. Just know that what was done in your president's eyes had to be done in his eyes. What they are doing here at the homeland, I hope, I'm sorry, I'm going to sound a little controversial here because I understand the way this works. I hope there's profiling going on within our three-letter agencies everywhere. I don't care. I don't believe that anyone should be suppressed. I don't believe that anyone should be, they should be pulled off the streets and put in camps of any sort. I don't believe in any of that. But if there are people who are online chattering, talking a lot of smack, have some anti-American rhetoric, they should be watched. Just saying. It's wartime. Remember? That's what everybody keeps telling us. Right? Isn't that what Jim Himes just said recently? We're at war. That's what Drudge Report has in the headlines. We're at war. So let's treat it like that. Unless they don't. Unless they're talking on both sides of their face. See, I know they're talking on both sides of their face. What they are witnessing is something that they never expected an American president to do, and that is punch back. We are talking about a war-weary United States of America. I get it. No one wants a land war. Nobody wants troops on the ground. Nobody wants our service members put in harm's way. The President of the United States made that promise to us that he was going to keep us out of elongated wars. But he also said that he was going to protect Americans and protect American interests, foreign and domestic. And in this case, we have a country that is enriching uranium underground, for what they're calling just domestic use of nuclear energy. And we're supposed to believe that. Doing it way underground, just so they can have nuclear power, while screaming death to America. And as Marco Rubio said on the Face the Nation show on Sunday, what are they developing a space program for? Are they going to the moon? No, they're not. Why are they enriching uranium past 60%? Domestic use of uranium for a nuclear power plant, you don't even need to enrich it that much. Why are they doing it? I'll play that audio later too. We all know what's going on. And I say forget all the noise and forget all the sound bites. They make no sense because the people who are saying it make no sense. They are making this moment about them. They are making this moment about their sound bites. They are making this moment about their PR campaigns or whatever the case may be. This is not about what is actually happening or what needs to happen. I don't know if you heard this maybe 3 years ago. I talked about this on WTIC. I know I talked about it on my podcast, but I said this. Everybody in the news media was talking about before Putin invaded Ukraine. And there were all of these news outlets that were posting pictures of Vladimir Putin as Hitler, showing him with the Hitler mustache and the haircut. And they were saying, Putin is acting like Hitler and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And I've said to everyone, do you think that Vladimir Putin is running a YouTube campaign for war? Do you think that he's trying to get likes on Instagram and Facebook? Do you think that this war is going to be fought on TikTok? He doesn't care if the Washington Post associates him with Hitler. He has an objective. Your smearing of him or trying to mean girl him into standing down will not work, because these guys do not operate online. These guys operate on the front line. Use your head. This is not about sound bites. This is about deterring a foreign enemy who wishes to obliterate us and anyone else who's an infidel. Now, we can sit around and get smacked around for 40 years, or we can put an end to it. And in order to do that, you have to do some very tough things. As the old saying goes, folks, freedom ain't free, and it never will be. We'll take your phone calls, 860-522-WTIC. I'll read some of your statements in the chat room. If you wish to join us in the chat room, go to reasonthenradio.com, and you can just respond right there, and I'll get to them in due course. We got plenty of stuff to get into, plenty of local stuff, plenty of national stuff. Headlines are also coming up soon, plus your phone calls. All right, we'll be back. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Another checkup? Why are so many people getting new puppies?
Dr. Kim's veterinary office is littered with cuteness.
We are booked solid for weeks, but who can say no to a puppy, right? Oh, who's your good boy? Oh, who's your? Oh,
She needs to find extra vet techs to get those pups some extra love.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed,
Due to the
candidates
nature of
can
this
find it
program,
easier, so
discretion does
you
not
can
exist.
hire easier. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits
Listen to
just right?
Yeah, for me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
So, we want to talk about the Hartford Courant's Best of Awards, specifically the Radio Personality category, because it's a WTIC News Talk 1080 sweep. First place, your morning host, Brian Shackman of Brian & Company. Second place, Eric Semmel, host of WTIC's Computer Talk with Tab. And third place, our partner, Jeff Dooley, the voice of the Hartford Yard Goats, which you can hear right here on WTIC News Talk 1080 and always free on the Odyssey app. Thank you to everyone who voted. We promise to continue to work hard so that you always think of us as the best.
Brian Shackman here for QC Kinetics. Listen, a huge focus for everybody is health. More and more people are looking beyond pills and steroids and surgery. They want natural solutions to their problems. Well, if you have joint pain and you want a natural solution and lasting joint pain relief, you might want to try the natural treatments that harness your body's own healing power at QC Kinetics. No surgery, no downtime, no drugs. These cellular level treatments revitalize and restore damaged joint tissue. And the thing about it is the consultation is totally free. You go in there, you find out if it's right for you, and then make a decision. And if you want to go this route, whether it's hips, knees, shoulders, or back, it could change your life. Okay, give them a call. The consultation's free. 860-440-PAIN. That's 860-440-PAIN. And the chances are they're located near you. They have offices in Avon, New Haven, and Glastonbury. So give QC Kinetics a call. Set up that appointment. Stop just dealing with the pain. Do something about it. 860-440-PAIN. 860-440-PAIN.
And now, a WTIC news update.
It's 2:30, Hartford temperature 95 degrees. Good afternoon. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News. Extreme heat warning in effect through Tuesday night. Sam Samperi has the forecast details coming up. Iran has retaliated against the U.S. for the strikes against its nuclear facilities over the weekend. Correspondent Cammie McCormick.
And a major U.S. base in Qatar was the target. 6 to 10 short to medium range missiles were fired, all apparently intercepted. There were no U.S. injuries. Security contributor Sam Vinograd.
This is the home of U.S. Central Command. There are a range of critical assets at this base, drones, aircraft, and more.
CBS's Charlie D'Agata has the latest from the Pentagon.
This is not only one of the biggest bases, but it's also one of the best defended. So it might be symbolic that the Iranians are saying, look, we're going to hit you right where you live, right at your Central Command headquarters in the Middle East. But also it's more likely that this base and the anti-missile defenses from the Qataris and the United States would be able to intercept those missiles coming in.
Margaret Brennan reports this was not unexpected.
The United States, as we know, had warned Americans in the region early this morning, in particular countries, to shelter in place. That was the first sign we knew something may be coming. And what I'm told by diplomats in the region is behind the scenes, the United States was closely coordinating with the government in Qatar and in other areas, by the way. I've been in touch with other Gulf nation officials as well who are bracing. They have been bracing for days, to be frank, concerned that their association with the United States would make them targets.
European nations work today to try and keep diplomatic efforts to curb the Israel-Iran war as the two countries traded strikes following the U.S. weekend attack. Calls for Tehran to enter the talks with Washington, though, appeared to have fallen on deaf ears. Governor Lamont vetoing the striking workers' benefits bill and the housing bill. Made that announcement today, the move at odds with his fellow majority Democrats who call his decisions disappointing. WTIC News time is 2:32. Here's Sam with the forecast.
Good afternoon, John. Yes, extreme heat continues throughout this afternoon. Temperatures averaging between 95 and 100. But with the extreme heat warning in effect, and that's when you take into account the humidity and the temperature, it's going to feel like 105 to possibly 110 degrees. And will continue to do so for Tuesday as well with that extreme heat warning. Tonight, warm and muggy, lows in the 70s. And again, tomorrow, 95 to 102. We could break the 100-degree mark tomorrow. And the outlook for Wednesday, look for intervals of sun and clouds. It'll be hot and humid, highs well up into the 90s. And there will be a chance for late-day showers and thunderstorms ahead of a cold front that will break the heat, turning cooler for Thursday and Friday. Have a safe afternoon, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sam Samperi.
All right, partly sunny, 95 the temperature right now in Hartford. Dow's up 274, NASDAQ's up 159. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
Brian Shackman here for QC Kinetics. Listen, a huge focus for everybody is health. More and more people are looking beyond pills and steroids and surgery. They want natural solutions to their problems. Well, if you have joint pain and you want a natural solution and lasting joint pain relief, you might want to try the natural treatments that harness your body's own healing power at QC Kinetics. No surgery, no downtime, no drugs. These cellular level treatments revitalize and restore damaged joint tissue. And the thing about it is the consultation is totally free. You go in there, you find out if it's right for you, and then make a decision. And if you want to go this route, whether it's hips, knees, shoulders, or back, it could change your life. Okay, give them a call. The consultation's free. 860-440-PAIN. That's 860-440-PAIN. And the chances are they're located near you. They have offices in Avon, New Haven, and Glastonbury. So give QC Kinetics a call. Set up that appointment. Stop just dealing with the pain. Do something about it. 860-440-PAIN. 860-440-PAIN.
When it comes to DSPs, usability matters. Some platforms bury you in complexity. Results-driven advertising shouldn't look like a chemistry experiment. Viant's AI-powered DSP streamlines setup, automates measurement and optimization, and keeps you in control. Less clicking, more strategy. And with proven CTV leadership across premium publishers, Viant works smarter and delivers stronger. why are you still trading on a desk? Visit Viant.ai to unlock real results today.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com. If you have a 2004 or newer vehicle that's out of warranty or about to be, Endurance is urgently notifying U.S. drivers about their low-cost vehicle coverage plan designed to save drivers thousands on rising vehicle repair costs. Those who qualify can pick their plan, coverage, and repair shop. Roadside service, towing, and rental cars included. All covered repairs get paid directly to the repair shop for you. Call now for your free quote. Call 800-291-3143. 800-291-3143.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Ugh, I gotta get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
Earbuds
easy.
and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
Feeling like you've lost a step? You're not alone. After 35, most men start losing free testosterone, the hormone that helps you stay lean, strong, and energized. But now there's a game-changing solution. Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster from the #1 brand in America. Nugenix Total T2 is packed with even more man-boosting power, and it works fast. With a powerful nitric oxide booster, it sends your energy and performance levels skyrocketing in just 3 hours. That's right, just 3 hours to start feeling like your old self again. For a limited time, you could try it for yourself absolutely free. Text now to get a complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the #1 selling testosterone brand at GNC. But that's not all. When you send us a text, we'll also include a free bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our most powerful fat incinerator ever. Feel stronger, leaner, more driven. Text CASH to 369-369 now. That's CASH to 369-369. Text CASH to 369-369.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Actual price depends on product and plan purchase. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com.
Everyone's talking about the breakthrough of weight loss medications, but too few can access or afford them. Hers is changing that by offering access to Wegovy GLP-1 treatment through their platform. 50% off retail price. Wegovy is FDA approved for weight loss and can help you lose up to 20% of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. All dosages of Wegovy are offered at the same price and are eligible for FSA and HSA reimbursement. At forhers.com/radio, treatments are prescribed 100% online. A medical provider on their platform will determine if a weight loss plan is right for you. And if prescribed, your plan ships free directly to your door. By getting access to Wegovy through Hers, you get so much more than just medication. You'll get ongoing support along your weight loss journey. See if Wegovy is right for you at forhers.com/radio. That's forhers.com.
Here we go.
FORHERS.com/radio.
I don't want to say anything, but it's our birthday. I'm sure you knew that already, and I'm sure you've got a wonderful present. 100 years, by the way.
No doubt, keeping it 100 here on WTIC News Talk 1080. I'm sorry, as much as I try to say that as ghetto as I can, it still sounds funny coming out of my mouth. Keeping it 100. That's what the kids say. I can't do it. I just can't. Anyway, more news, more views you can shake a stick at. Let me read some of the comments in the chat room based upon the opening monologue. This one coming from Aaron B. He says, if everything they have been telling us about the Iranian nuclear program is true, then this was really the only response. But the U.S. government has an extensive history of using this type of propaganda and lying to justify these types of actions, going back to at least the sinking of the Maine in 1898. Aaron, you know, again, as I said, I think last week, you know, I have these reservations about Benjamin Netanyahu. And it's not controversial to say that. I just watched a video, Charlie Kirk, after I said it, I just went, he was on Patrick Bet-David's podcast saying the same exact things, questions we brought up just this past Friday. A caller called up and said, look, I am really concerned about Hamas's ability to get into Israel, which is protected like a fortress. And even Charlie Kirk, who is a defender of Israel, said, was there a stand-down order that allowed this to happen so they could act? And it's a legitimate question to ask. Are we here because something else nefarious may be going on? These are legitimate questions. Why? Why are they legitimate? Because there are human assets in all of this. There are people who will end up in harm's way if indeed someone was looking to provoke this action that led us here. If we're being manipulated or coerced. It's a fair point. You know, and we live in a state today, I'll put it this way. What have we learned over the past 10 years? Over the last 10 years, everything that was considered either conspiracy, QAnon nonsense, Bat Guanum crazy stuff, things that were getting people institutionalized, those things are turning out to be true. It's turning to be that everything about them was over the mark. Now we're realizing that when someone says that something is either controversial or a conspiracy theory, now people are noticing one thing. It's not being called a lie. Which is what you should say if someone is speaking in untruths. It should not be mis or dis or malinformation. It should be lies. But they can't call it a lie because that is condemnation. If it turns out to be true, well, then we find out who the liars are. Steve L. says on YouTube, Reese, I hate it when you say everyone knows or we all know, etc. I know, and most of your listeners know, but there are so many stupid morons out there that don't know. I responded to Steve, I totally understand where you're coming from. I like giving people the benefit of the doubt. I'm under the impression that these are things that people already know or are well informed. Do I know that there are stupid people out there? Yeah, I talk about them all the time. It's what I do. But I don't presume that the people who listen to this program, no, and even those who are opposed to or disagree with the things that I'm talking about, I'm well aware that they know as well. They may not admit it, but I know they know. So that's, just my take on there. Zach B says, let's hear it for the boys and girls flying those B-2s. Amazing that what they can do with two crew on those. Yeah, indeed. And they need to be commended for what they've done. Donald says, how many years have we been accusing Iran of possessing nuclear weapons, yet they never any concrete evidence? Well, I don't think that the argument has ever been they have a nuclear weapon. Donald, that's a misstatement. What we do know is that they're enriching uranium. And let me just play this so I can get to it, and then I'll get to the phone calls. Let me find Marco Rubio's conversation with, I think her name is Margaret Brennan. Yeah, Margaret Brennan of Face the Nation on Sunday. Here's that audio, which should take a second.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I think that question being asked in the media, that's an irrelevant question.
No,
they have
that is the
they
key point in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had not been made.
I know that better than you know that. And
Now, I want you to get this. Unfortunately, I have to lead the witness here because if you haven't heard this, you're going to miss it. Now, Margaret Brennan begins emphatically knowing what all of this is about and what needs to be done before we put this strike out in Iran, is that the intelligence must say this, that, and the third. And Marco Rubio says, how the hell do you know? You don't know what it's supposed to read or what it reads. How do you know better than I am? I'm the Secretary of State, and I'm inside the intelligence briefing. That's somebody outside of the briefing telling you what you're supposed to convey to the American public, which, again, is untrue. So listen to what happens in this exchange between the two. Marco Rubio, Margaret Brennan, CBS, Face the Nation. Listen to the change-up on Margaret Brennan's part.
Are you saying there that the United States did not see intelligence that the Supreme Leader had ordered weaponization?
That's irrelevant. I see that question being asked in the media. That's an irrelevant question.
No,
They have
that is
everything
the
they
key
need to build a
point
weapon.
in U.S. intelligence assessments. You know that.
No, it's not.
Yes, it was.
No, it's
that
not.
The political decision had
well,
not
I know
been
that better
made.
than you know that, and I know that that's not the case.
But
You don't
I'm
know-
asking
you
you
don't
whether
know
the
what you're
order
talking
was
about.
given.
And the people who say that, it doesn't matter if the order was given. They have everything they need to build nuclear weapons. Why would you bury things in a mountain, 300 feet under the ground?
Right.
Why would you bury why do they have 60% enriched uranium? You don't need 60% enriched uranium. The only countries in the world that have uranium at 60% are countries that have nuclear weapons because they can quickly make it 90. They have all the elements. They have. Why do they have a space program? Is Iran going to go to the moon? No, they're trying to build an ICBM.
No, but
so
that's
they
a
can one day
question.
put a
That's a
warhead on
question.
it.
That's a question of intent, and you know in the intelligence assessment that it was that Iran wanted to be a threshold
How do
state
you know
and
what the
use this
intelligence assessment
leverage.
says?
I'm
How do
talking
you know
about
what
the
the
public
intelligence assessment
March
says?
assessment, and that's why I was asking you if you know something more from
but
March.
that's also
if
an
order
inaccurate
was
representation of it. That's an accurate representation of it. That's not how intelligence is read. That's not how intelligence is used. Here's what the whole world knows. Now, forget about intelligence. What the IAEA knows. They are enriching uranium well beyond anything you need for a civil nuclear program. So why would you enrich uranium at 60% if you don't intend to one day use it to take it to 90 and build a weapon? Why are you developing ICBMs? Why do you have 8,000 short-range missiles and 2,000 to 3,000 long mid-range missiles that you continue to develop? Why do you do all these things? They
Understood.
have everything they need for a nuclear weapon. They have the delivery mechanisms. They have the enrichment capability. They have the highly enriched uranium that is stored.
Yes.
That's all we need to see.
Right. Well, and
especially in the hands of a regime that's already involved in terrorism and proxies and all kinds of things around. They are the source of all
Yes, and no one's
instability in the Middle
disputing.
East.
No one's disputing that. I'm not doing that here. And they were censured at the IAEA for that enrichment and for violating their non-proliferation agreements. I was simply asking if we had intelligence that there was an order to weaponize because.
Backed off that real quick, didn't she? I was simply asking. She wasn't simply asking. She was giving matter-of-fact data. She was pushing back on the Secretary of State on what he knew, and she had no clue, and she was forced to retreat. Let's take one before we go to break. Let's take Jim in Naugatuck. Hello, Jim. How are you, sir?
Hello, how are you?
What's up, buddy?
Listen, this is absolutely not an act of war. This is smart strategic moves, just like Marco Rubio was just saying. We have to take these things out. It's not that they have one, it's that they are close to having one. They could put one on these missiles. These people just got to. These people are just amazing to me. And where was all the outrage and the outcry when Obama gave $1.7 billion in cash, not approved by the Congress, mind you, overnight in an unmarked plane to Iran? And then Hillary was selling 20% uranium to Putin.
Yeah.
What do you think he was doing?
And what was that? Wasn't that in Utah?
Then during the Biden years, too. Hold on, one more. Then the Biden years, he unfroze $16 billion and gave it to Iran.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think they're doing with this money? These politicians are just, I'll tell you what, the left, I'll tell you what, Donald Trump has been steadfast on his policies and on whatever he ran on, he has never wavered. We all knew what was going on. We all know he doesn't want war. We all know he's trying to have peace. He's the peace. He had nothing going on there in his first term. These are strategic moves, not acts of war. So that's all I want to say.
You got it, Jim.
So thank you for letting me talk.
You got it, Jim. Yeah, and that's a great point. You know, the footing of the United States has been in recent years, let's keep giving Iran money and they'll behave. And the result of that has been what? Death to America. Has the Secretary of State ever called their counterpart in Iran and says, hey, here's another $400 billion. How do you feel about America? Well, death to you. Every day. That's every day, over and over again. Hey, do you need a couple $1 billion? To feed your people? I don't know, for infrastructure? Yes, give us more money. All right, how do you feel about us now? Well, death to you. Are you going to continue to arm your proxies with weapons and money to keep bombing our facilities and our well, of course, because death to America. You have more money? Send check. That's been the posture of the United States forever. And now this happens and people go, A bridge too far? Can you imagine that? Trying to bribe your sworn enemy with billions and billions of dollars, and they still come out on the other side saying death to you? Knock it off. None of you, I always go harken back to, what would you do in your own lives? Huh? If somebody in your neighborhood was making that threat every day. What, keep piling them with more money? Nah, here's a couple more $100. Nah, how do you feel about us today? Death to you. Ugh. Every day spitting at you. We'll take a break. We'll come back. More phone calls, more of your comments in the chat room, and, of course, more audio sound bites when we return. Stick around. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they helped me. They calmed me down. They made me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-354-2840.
I miss our easiest
800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Yeah, he hasn't been on in a long time.
Please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
1 minute. I don't think they
don't play him anymore.
I don't think they renewed his commercial.
Home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Listen to WTIC News Talk 1080 on the free Odyssey app. Download and like WTIC today for alerts on special programming.
Yeah, so whenever you want to, make sure you go to the Odyssey app. So, of course, you could get shows like Reese on the Radio, who is there now. And I'm very, very happy that I'm there. I actually check out the website every day. I don't know why. I just want to make sure that I see it so that I know that I'm there. It's a weird thing that I do. I want to get to the phone call in a second, but I just want to tell this stupid, silly story. How long have you followed Jay-Z's career at all, Roland? Like as a rapper, did you follow his career as closely? Like as a fan?
He wasn't one of my favorites, so
you didn't really follow him all that much.
I followed him as far as the Black Album.
Oh, okay. Well, something interesting happened, right? I was never really a Jay-Z fan. I thought his first album, was probably his best album ever. And then, of course, he got very commercial. But there was one time where Jay-Z did something that sort of crossed my path. I was a huge Letterman fan, and this is before he got very political. And Jay-Z was the musical guest there. And he had parlayed away over to the couch or to one of the chairs to talk to Letterman after the commercial break. And it was near the end of the show. So when they come back from commercial and about the end of the show, Jay-Z is sitting on the couch and he's rubbing every piece of furniture within arm's reach. And Letterman thought that was odd. And he says to him, what's going on here? And he was like, you never know if you're ever going to be invited back. So I want to touch everything. And that resonated with me, is that he understood how important it was for him to be on Letterman's couch on that show. It's just like, I want to feel everything. I want to relish in that moment. And I sort of identified with Jay-Z in a weird way. It's like going on the Letterman show for him felt that's a huge deal. I've become mainstream. I've made it. So that's kind of the reason why I go back to the WTIC website, because I'm looking at myself and I'm just going, I feel like I kind of made it. So it's it's just one of those things where I want to relish in it a little bit. It means a big deal to me. I know it sounds kind of silly, but that's kind of why I do it. Let's get back to the phones. 860-522-WTIC. Tom is in Thomaston. Hello, sir. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the civilian nuclear rate is either 4 or 14%.
Right.
So Iran was way over that.
Yes.
And from what I have read, it's tough to get to 60. But once you hit 60, it's very easy to get to 90, and that we could not allow.
Indeed.
President Clinton said Iran couldn't have a nuclear weapon. President Obama said we couldn't have a nuclear weapon. And even Biden said Iran couldn't have a nuclear weapon. Only Trump had the guts to do it.
And again, remember, it comes at great political cost to do something like this, which is why, people aren't even, that's not resonating with anyone. Everyone's looking at it from the sound bites. Who's saying what, when, and where. But it comes at political expense. And I think a perfect example of everyone else losing their minds is what happened between, Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, other folks who are sort of like stalwart Donald Trump supporters and fans who helped him get elected, went on the road with him, during his reelection bid. Those people having a response to him that was negative, the media sort of drew down on those things instead of paying attention to the task at hand, what Donald Trump was going to do. And I love the fact that he didn't care.
Yeah, I do too, because more than one thing can be true. The world is a much safer place today.
Yeah.
Our bases in the Middle East are more precarious. Israel is more precarious. Even the United States is in a more precarious right now.
Indeed.
Because for sure there are sleeper cells in the United States, and we don't know what's going to happen, but it certainly could. And we could blame all the other presidents for not closing the border, but President Reagan, I'm old enough to remember, when he allowed those 10 million illegals citizenship, he and Congress were supposed to close the border.
And
but
never
they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to lose votes.
Yep. And again, that's another part about all of this, is that all of that was political, and it wasn't making the right or hard decisions. And that's why I say Trump deserves credit for this, because the decision that he made was at great political expense, or it could be great political expense, because if it goes south, his legacy is done.
So, yeah, 100%. But he's the adult in the room, and Iran having a nuclear weapon is...
That's it. Game over.
Something we can't... Yeah, it's game over.
It's game over. That's all. There's no other way. These guys believe that life begins at death. I don't want those guys with a nuclear weapon. They have absolutely they have no concern for human life. That's the zealotry there. So anyway, thank you. I appreciate you, Tom. That, again, this is one of those things that people need to understand. If you have a religious institution, zealotry, whatever the case may be, and they believe that dying is the beginning and not the end. That is a radical position. You do not want that kind of destruction in the hands of that ideology. You just don't. You can respect their ideology all day, every day. But it affects all of us, and we have to respond to that. We got to go to a break. Let's get to some news. John Silva is in the newsroom. We'll be back at Reese on the Radio on WTIC NewsTalk 1080.
WTIC is celebrating 100 years on the air and 100 years of serving Connecticut. This is WTIC and WTIC FM HD2 Hartford, an Odyssey station.
3 o'clock in the afternoon, 96 degrees, partly sunny skies, extreme heat warning up for us through Tuesday. All the forecast details coming up. Iran has retaliated against the U.S. for its attacks on nuclear facilities over the weekend.
It fired several short to medium-range missiles at a U.S. base in Qatar. CBS's Charlie D'Agata at the Pentagon.
This is not only one of the biggest bases, but it's also one of the best defended. It might be symbolic that the Iranians are saying, look, we're going to hit you right where you live, right at your central command.
Margaret Brennan reports the attack was not unexpected.
The United States and Qatar were able to be in communication well in advance of the attack actually being launched to prepare for what was about to come.
Foreigners had been ordered to shelter in place. The U.S. says there were no American casualties. CBS's Holly Williams.
If it indeed was a calibrated, almost a theatrical response, then do we also see diplomatic wheels turning? Do we see Iran capitulating or at least agreeing to curtail its nuclear program? Or does this potentially spiral out of control?
CBS News Special Report, I'm Cammie McCormick.
Colonel Jeff McCausland, U.S. Army retired, is a CBS military analyst, and he talks about a potential next step in all this.
The first thing they might well do is identify where these particular missiles were launched from. And obviously, if that's a fixed site, though it may not have been, do an immediate retaliatory strike from where that came from.
Back here, at odds with his fellow majority Democrats, Governor Lamont vetoed a couple of bills that passed in this legislative session. One of them, the striking workers bill, which would have given unemployment benefits to workers after they've been on strike for 14 days. He says he thinks it's bad for unions and for businesses.
I've been there on the picket line when it comes to, the Omni Hotel and Stop and Shop. But I think paying striking workers is a bridge too far and doesn't help our cause.
The governor is also vetoing that housing bill while calling it a good start. He says he believes regulation that removes local control would only drive up prices.
I know you're thinking, oh boy, all the growth is in our 8 biggest cities. Not true at all. There's growth extended all across from our smallest towns to our biggest cities. Depending where, it's lumpy growth, but that's what we got to continue to build on.
Majority Democrats called the vetoes disappointing, while Republicans called them good for Connecticut. Man is facing charges. He was driving over 100 miles an hour on a portion of I-84 on Sunday. They say Carlos Gallegos Loja was spotted in the shoulder by westbound exit 44 by one trooper. Later on, he was spotted going 122 miles an hour in a 65-mile-an-hour zone by a trooper in Farmington. They say the 23-year-old showed signs of impairment, had open alcoholic containers in the vehicle. He told police he stopped to drink a beer before going on his way. He's now facing charges including reckless driving, DUI, and driving without a license. Figures for May by the State Department of Labor show a pullback in the number of jobs added by employers for the month. The department says payroll positions declined by 6,500. That, says DOL Research Director Patrick Flaherty, was due in part to the strike at Pratt & Whitney this spring and a one-time retail restructuring event.
The unemployment rate edged up 0.1% to 3.8%, but remains quite low and remains well below the national average of 4.2%. Still, there is some evidence that job search is taking longer, but that's a return to a more normal labor market after the frenetic pace of job switching of a couple years ago.
Bad turbulence aboard an American Airlines jet leaves several people injured.
5 people, 3 flight attendants and 2 passengers were taken to hospitals after an American Airlines flight hit bad turbulence. It happened on a flight from Miami to Raleigh-Durham International Airport in North Carolina late Sunday night.
CBS's Jim Krasula, WTIC News Time 3:04, checking traffic. Volume delays Windsor, 91 south into the city between exits 35A and 32. We have still some leftover road work in Hartford on 84 West. Between exits 48 and 47, that's right lane should be wrapping up as we speak, actually. And still some road work down in Wallingford on 95, or I beg your pardon, on Route 15. This is southbound between 64 and 63 with the right lane closed there. Let's check the WTIC Weather Center forecast.
A record-breaking Monday afternoon, very hot and humid, one of the hottest days of the year so far, the high of 98. Partly cloudy, remaining warm and humid tonight, the low only down to 73, so very little heat relief. And as we head into Tuesday, mostly sunny, another record-setting day, very hot and humid with the high returning to 98. Wednesday, more record-breaking temperatures, another very hot and humid day with a mix of clouds and sun. A thunderstorm around in the afternoon. It could produce flooding downpours and localized damaging wind gusts. The high still 97 for us on Wednesday. Now, some relief as we head toward Thursday. Cloudy, turning cooler, but still humid with a thunderstorm, the high of 79. Then a brief shower or two on Friday morning. Otherwise, cloudy and pleasant temps, the high only 75 for a change. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
96 is the temperature in Hartford under partly sunny skies. Dow up, that is, 323 points. NASDAQ is up 161, and the S&P is ahead by 46 points. For these stories and more, go to WTIC.com. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
Are you a proud Connecticut business owner? We are too. With more than 48 years of experience handling business transactions for small and mid-sized businesses, and we know that not every business relationship works out as planned. If you found yourself in a dispute, call the law firm of Brown, Payne, Darris & Scott. Our team of business lawyers have over 100 years of combined experience. At BPS Lawyers, you get more than a lawyer. You get a full-service law firm. Call us at 860-CALL-BPS or visit bpslawyers.com. Nick Payne-Darris is responsible for the content of this ad.
HartfordLatinoFest.com is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Saturday, July 12th from noon until 7 at Duncan Park, downtown Hartford. This family event is free, and you'll enjoy live Latin bands, local groups, Latin food, drinks, and much more. For more information, call Luna at 860-983-5629 or go to HartfordLatinoFest.com. Latino Fest is proudly supported by Los Chivos, the Hartford Yard Goats, Attorney Michael Chambers Jr., Hartford's Town and Clerk's Office, Liberty Bank, Kia of East Hartford, Connecticut, Greater Hartford Regional School Choice Office, and WTIC News Talk 1080.
How did you get your tripping breakers fixed so fast?
ALO Home Services, same day electrical. I gave them a call and they had a technician on their way. They even sent the technician's real-time location so I knew when they would be here.
Did you say same day? That's crazy.
If you need same-day electrical, call, click, or text today and say, hello, ALO, call for details. Licensed for safety. P102776688, D104011465, E1185643, S3308699, HIC 628926, SM 3004646, HOD 635, HOD 223.
I'm elder law attorney Haley Allaire. Our greatest reward is happy clients telling us that they're very thankful for our help.
I'm Carolyn from Coventry. Recently, my 82-year-old mother had a few falls and ended up in rehab. What we thought would be temporary care became permanent. When we applied for Medicaid, it was overwhelming. From our first meeting with Allaire Elder Law, they listened and guided us, providing clarity, kindness, and compassion. We were finally granted Medicaid, and a huge weight came off my shoulders. Thank you, Allaire Elder Law team.
AllaireElderLaw.com.
Hi, everybody. It's Brian Green from the Commercial Break Podcast. It's likely you've heard of the show if you're directly related to me or you follow our MySpace page. But I'm not here to talk to those three listeners. I'm here to appeal to people who haven't heard the show. Along with my co-host, Kristen Joy Hoadley, we're taking a deeper look at the topic.
All right, in 10.
Like, who are the people who are dating ghosts? Where did all these pickup artists come from? And why doesn't my preacher have a nicer private jet? We understand that these are the issues you really want to get to the bottom of. The Commercial Break is now available on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcasts.
Reese on the Radio, making sense of the news. Yeah, even when it makes no sense at all. Now on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we're back. It's Reese on the Radio, News Talk 1080 WTIC. Sorry, I had to fix that real quick. We'll take your phone calls in a second, but you know what time it is. Let's get to some headlines. All right, today, folks, I have to tell you that if this happens in New York, you may never be able to go back. Polls in New York now show that socialist Zoran Mamdani. Is that his name? Zoran Mamdani. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly. Is surging past Democrat Andrew Cuomo, who was in the lead in the New York City mayoral primary. He's, according to reports here, he is a little more than 51% of the vote, while Cuomo, who was in first place, is now at 48. You might remember that Zoran Mamdani is endorsed by Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Here are some of the policies of Mamdani. He plans to freeze rent for over 2 million tenants in rent-stabilized apartments for 4 years to provide immediate relief for rising costs. He wants to triple the city's production of permanently affordable union-built rent-stabilizing housing, shift housing production from private developers to city-led initiatives. On transportation, he wants to implement fare-free buses citywide, support congestion pricing, and increase bus service frequency through legislation like Get Congestion Pricing Right. He wants to enhance bike lanes and transit infrastructure to improve accessibility. On economic and labor policies, he wants to raise the minimum wage to $30 an hour by 2030 and establish city-owned grocery stores to combat food price gouging, to provide affordable staples, and to address food deserts. He wants to provide universal no-cost health care as well. Good luck, New York. I'm never going back. 23 people were shot in Chicago over the weekend. According to ABC News, they reported that 2 fatalities were a result of these shootings that occurred on Saturday morning at about 2:30 a.m. CBS noted that the three individuals were just standing on a sidewalk when 3 men exited an SUV and opened fire on them. The men got back into the SUV and fled. One of the shooting victims, a 25-year-old, was able to self-transport to the hospital because the ambulance wouldn't bother to go into the neighborhood. Yeah. Also, news you may not have heard in the violent sector, video has been obtained, or at least viewed, by 2 news outlets with regards to the stabbing by Carmelo Anthony when he stabbed Austin Metcalf. This CCTV footage was viewed by the UK Daily Mail, and it, let's just say it disputes Carmelo Anthony's claim that it was in self-defense. According to the UK Daily Mail, that the stabbing took place in seconds of Carmelo being confronted by Austin Metcalf. There was no back and forth between the two. Pakistan has nominated President Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize, calling him a, quote, genuine peacemaker for helping avert a major escalation between Pakistan and India last month. You may remember there were some bombings going back and forth between the two countries. Well, that is since quelled, so they're making that. Also, Simone Biles has deleted her X account after her clashes with Riley Gaines over trans athletes. I think that was a smart move for her because so many people were kind of trolling her and attacking her online. To get back to local, this is interesting. Wallet Hub has released its list of worst-run cities of 2025. Out of the 148 cities, Connecticut landed in spot 101 and 54. New Haven got the 101 spot. Bridgeport got 54, meaning that Bridgeport is a better-run city than New Haven. Again, Bridgeport is a better-run city than New Haven. Also, the quality of services based on 148 cities, the numbers went for 3 Hartford municipalities. Bridgeport ranked at 68, New Haven at 126, and the capital city, Hartford, was a dismal 129 for quality of services out of 148 cities that were polled, according to Wallet Hub. If you want to see that list, you could go to wallethub.com, I think, to see that. Hartford at 129 out of 148 cities surveyed on the quality of services list. And by the way, if you're on the bottom, that means it's, abysmal. That means that New Haven did better by 3, and Bridgeport was at 68. I don't know. That's a bit much. I don't know what to say about that. I don't, but I'm pretty sure that somebody's going to have something to say about it. I don't know what quality of service is. What do you consider quality of services? In fact, let me see this here, because of course I had it in front of me. And I guess the way that, excuse me, the way that they are suggesting the quality of services, they are ranked, oddly enough. Let me just get to that particular portion. I thought I should have had it in front of me. But, of course, because I have a bunch of stuff in front of me, I have to make sure that I have that stuff and not the other one. Yeah, the daily breakdown: financial stability, education, health, safety, economy, and infrastructure and pollution rank. So that's how that's polled. So Hartford, again, out of 148 cities, got an abysmal 129. Let's go to the phones, 860-522-WTIC. Let's go to Frankie in Woodbridge. What's going on, buddy?
I'm not good. How you doing today?
I'm all right, sir. What's up?
On October 7th, 2023, Israel was invaded. 1,200 people were massacred. Mm-hmm. The IDF, the greatest police department we were told in the history of the world, and Israel's the size of New Jersey, suddenly disappeared. Now, this I have firsthand knowledge of. When cops disappear, there's only 2 options. One, they were told to stand down, or second, they were bribed. That's it. So you take your choice. Where were they 7 hours?
You know what? Again, as Charlie Clerk said, and he's 100% on the money, Israel is a fortress. Why is it a fortress? Because they are surrounded by the enemy. Okay? Right. Doesn't matter whoever shares their border, be it Jordan, be it Egypt. Egypt, again, is supposed to be, the big deflector. Like, they're supposed to be the people who have supposed to keep the other Arab nations at bay. And you know how well that's worked. Right. It's nothing at this point. So we know that it's a fortress. So the fact that there were that many hours allowed for people to invade invade Israel in the fashion in which they did, where there weren't people to protect them or to at least fight back, where they were able to take hundreds of people out of the country. It begs the question, what in the hell happened?
Well, it's got to be those 2. Now, you're a little bit younger than me. You're what, in the 50s?
Yeah.
I'm going back to the 60s and 70s. We had a lot of criminals back then. The number one group my family had to worry about the most, not the American Mafia, not the FBI, the local cops. These guys were shaking everybody down. I mean, these guys, I don't know if you have experience with this. These are the people you had to worry about. And the cops today, they're Boy Scouts. You notice this too.
That's true. Listen to me. That is one of the things I grew up with that was commonplace. And I think, look, there are a lot of mitigating factors as to why the police back in the days were far more corrupt than they could ever have been. And again, that's not saying that all of them were. I'm sure there were great cops. But there was a atmosphere of corruption within police precincts across, especially growing up in New York. Many of them are notorious. And part of the reasons why were, 1, they didn't make a lot of money. 2, it was a very dangerous job, and
that's right.
Guys wanted to make, and not only that, I'll tell you this is going to sound as, prejudiced as it could get, but this is a fact. Who were the primary groups of people who were lining the police departments in New York back
they
in the
were
day?
Irish and Italian, all of them.
If not Irish, right? And why did they be getting those? People forget this. It was like, I remember that people said that the police departments and the fire departments were racist because they were primarily Italian and Irish workers. And I went, dude, that wasn't racism. Back in the day, it was, Italians need not apply. Irish need not apply. The only jobs they could get were the most dangerous, which were flatfoots and firemen.
Exactly. And there's an old Roman saying, who's watching the watchers?
Yeah.
Who were the ones watching the cops? They
That's
were
right.
more corrupt than the cops.
Yeah. I mean, we had to have
Let me tell you something, and you know this is true. These kids today confront the cops. You know what we did when the cops came? We ran in the house.
Yeah, we sure
That's when
did.
we ran.
Sure
we
did.
didn't want to get involved with those guys. Cops beat people up in the street.
Isn't
right
that-
block? You know that's true.
Isn't that's you know what? Look, like I said, I was I was doing that going down memory lane, like how cops in California got the term one time, right? By the by the rappers. They referred to them as one-timers because if you look at the police officer one time, he was going to grab you up and accuse you of something. So that was the atmosphere of the police. So you're 100% right. I couldn't agree more. Thank you, Frank. Always lively, sir.
Yeah.
You got it. Let's go to Ralph in South Carolina. Hello, sir.
Reese, how you doing?
Pretty good.
I think I know why the Democrats, their plan is let Iran get a nuclear weapon, let Iran get intercontinental ICBM so they could send them here, and when they're on the way, they were going to just shoot them out of the sky. That's the Democratic plan.
That's a losing plan, isn't it, though?
Well, no. What I'm trying to say is, you go back in history. If they had stopped Hitler before, and they knew what was going on, they let him go. Appeasement, and you're aware of that.
Yeah.
And look what you got. The same thing with Iran. Appease, and you know what you would have gotten down the road, Reese.
Yeah. I don't think, like I said, I don't believe one of these people. You got Chris Murphy talking nonsense about, he did not get the authorization of Congress and all this other stuff. And I'm like, dude, please be quiet. Like, no one's ever taken your advice, and no one has ever said that, hey, we should have listened to Chris Murphy. Like, no one in history has ever said that about a policy endorsed by Chris Murphy. So I wish he would just stop.
Reese, what did Chris Murphy say when Barack Obama bombed a lot of different places?
In fact, speaking of which, Ralph, you couldn't be more timely. Let's listen to Barack Obama making unilateral decisions to attack foreign nations.
Today, I authorized 2 operations in Iraq. Targeted airstrikes to protect our American personnel. Last night, on my orders, America's armed forces began strikes against ISIL targets in Syria. Today, at my direction, the United States launched a targeted operation against that compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan. Today, I authorized the armed forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya. Because a nuclear Iran is a threat to our national security. They can take the diplomatic route, or they will have to face a United States president, me, who said we're not going to take any options up.
And there you have it. Let me get back to Ralph here. I'm sorry, just to put you on hold real quick. But yeah, again, no words from anyone for any of the actions by Barack Obama, and they act like it's not on tape.
Don't you remember Chris Murphy screaming for his impeachment?
Not once. Not once.
That's your problem. You missed that part.
Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate you. Let's go to Kim in Cromwell real quick. Hello, Kim.
Hi. I think Trump made the right move with a surprise decoy attack. Air power is the very least that a president can use under the War Powers Act. And I point out to a lot of people, because there's a lot of propaganda going on with the news media and YouTube. They're very pro-Iranian.
Indeed.
There is, hopefully it sends a message, and you degrade this chess piece out of the axis of evil. Nobody is talking about boots on the ground. And compared to, say, China or North Korea or even Russia, this is really the only one we can take out and set back.
Right.
And these clowns that we have that represent us in our state, they don't understand that the president does have the War Powers Act for 60 days to do a strike like this. And as you just played, Obama did this plenty of times, did it with drones and with planes, and took out a lot of, top military officials and stuff. And might I also add, he took out bin Laden without Congress knowing. So why is it okay for him and not for Trump? And this is why...
Well, Kim, let me cut you off because I want to go one step further. Do you remember a man by the name of al-Awlaki?
Yes.
And what was al-Awlaki? What was he when he was killed by a drone strike by former President Barack?
Yep.
He was an American citizen.
Right,
Okay?
right.
Who again was killed on foreign soil, who again, unlike the argument that's being made about Abrego Garcia, never got due process. He was killed on foreign soil.
I mean, the Democrats are all harping on due process, or maybe bin Laden should have had an American court in the hopes that you would get one juror to acquit and he would go free, and then everybody could blame, oh, it's America, the big, bad, racist America that does everything wrong. You know what I say to the press, Hollywood, and all these Democratic people there? Go move to Iran.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you, Kim, as always. Before I actually go to a break, I want to play this. I thought this was interesting. CNN was in Iran after the fact, and they spoke to a couple of people in the streets. I thought this was a little bizarre because I'm old enough, and I'm sure many of you are old enough to remember the riots in Iran for regime change, where there was a very, they had stopped all internet and people couldn't get videos out of Iran to tell the world what was going on. They had shut it down in Iran. It's complete isolation. And so here's CNN talking to people in Tehran, of all places. And ironically, and just oddly, everyone seems to be everyone they talk to seems to be pro-Ayatollah. It doesn't make sense.
We are in the Iranian capital, in Tehran, and we've spoken to a lot of folks here on the street, and a lot of them say they are very angry at the United States. They voiced that anger to us and also absolutely ripped into President Trump. They attacked us, she says. We were living our normal lives and they attacked us. If someone strikes the United States, would they not answer? Of course they would. We're not doing anything but defending ourselves. Iranian people are people of honor, and we will definitely give a strong response, this man says. We will stand strongly like we have been for the past 40 years. There is no one dirtier than Trump, he says. First, he gives us 2 weeks' time, but then after 2 days, strikes us. We do not have nuclear weapons, so why does he strike us? Such a guy only thinks about his own benefit. I support the supreme leader with my life, he says. I approve of him, really, because he's moving forward for the sake of our land. So, as you can see, a lot of people saying that, if anything, this has strengthened their support for their leadership. All this, by the way, comes as a lot of...
Who here in their right mind believes that the only people this CNN reporter could run into were pro-Ayatollah, pro-Iran folks? Nobody. He couldn't run into anybody? And it's so blatant. But anyway, we'll talk about it on the other side. The number is 860-522-WTIC. We've also got local news to get into, and we'll get into that, I promise, when we return. So don't go anywhere. It's Reese On The Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Erectile dysfunction affects nearly 50% of men over age 50. But even with so many men affected, finding a trusted provider to treat the condition isn't so simple. This is Dale for Northeast Men's Health, a Promenic restorative health practice, and I'm excited to announce the opening of our newest location of Northeast Men's Health in Warwick, Rhode Island. As a Promenic affiliate, Northeast Men's Health can offer men with ED the latest treatment protocols, which are shown in medical studies to be effective in well over 90% of men. And unlike groups that only offer wave therapy or online pharmacies that just sell pills, we offer a variety of treatments to help get you the results you want. You should also know that Northeast Men's Health is a true medical practice, which means our providers have access to a complete range of treatment options to get you back on track. So call Northeast Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes a medical consult, blood work, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 800-930-5956. That's 800-930-5956. Or go to northeastmenshealth.com.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Lanny went to college and racked up huge debt.
A little bit over $100,000.
For a degree he couldn't use? Now what?
I had a friend that went to my computer career.
They even helped him get hired immediately after graduation.
One of the things I love about IT is that you can work from anywhere you want.
You could become an IT pro in just months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
It worked for me, and I know it can work for you.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
And now, a WTIC news update.
Or not.
It's 3:30, Hartford temperature 95 degrees. Good afternoon. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News. Extreme heat warning is with us through Tuesday. We'll have the forecast details coming up. Iran has retaliated against the U.S. for its strikes on nuclear facilities on Saturday. It launched a series of short and medium-range missiles today at a massive American base in Qatar. No injuries were reported. Sam Vinograd is a CBS News security contributor.
Iran has a long history of attacking U.S. military facilities in the region, so to a certain extent, we expected this moment. The unknown question at this time is whether this is it, or if Iran is planning to escalate further.
European nations work today to keep alive diplomatic efforts to curb the Israel-Iran war as the two countries traded strikes following the attack over the weekend. Calls for Tehran, though, to enter the talks in Washington appear to have fallen on deaf ears. A man is facing reckless driving and DUI charges after state police say he was clocked going over 100 miles an hour on I-84 on Sunday. Carlos Gallegos Loja is charged with DUI after he flunked a field sobriety test. State police say he was driving 122 in a 65-mile-an-hour zone. Extreme heat warning again up for Connecticut through Tuesday. The real feel could reach between 105 and 110 degrees around here before all is said and done. We got some relief coming up later in the week. And Governor Lamont vetoing a couple of bills, one that controversial housing bill, and the other, the pay for workers who've been on strike for 2 weeks or more. WTIC News time is 3:32. Checking traffic. We should be wrapping up the road work for the most part right now. We're left with delays, though, in the Hartford area on 84 East between exits 44 and 51. Westbound side, we slow from exit 56 to 46. That's 84 westbound. Looks like our delays down in Fairfield County begin southbound, actually, in Stamford from exit 8 down to exit 6. Northbound side of the Parkway in Fairfield, we've got about 7 miles worth of backups between 42 and 46 with late running road work there. Here's the WTIC Weather Center forecast.
Partly sunny, very hot and humid today. Record-breaking temps, the high of 98. Partly cloudy, still warm and humid tonight. The low only down to 73. Another record-setting day Tuesday, very hot and humid with the high returning to 98. Wednesday, more record-breaking heat and humidity. Clouds and sun, an afternoon thunderstorm around that could produce flooding downpours and localized damaging wind gusts, the high of 97. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
97 right now in Hartford. I'm John Silva. WTIC 1080 News.
A Yellow Home Services believes when you support your neighbors, the local community gets stronger. That's why we've partnered with Food Share for the last 15 years, donating over 20,000 pounds of food and more than 1,000 turkeys. When you call a Yellow, you're helping those in need as well. Help make a difference when you call, click, or text today and say hello, a Yellow. Call for details. Licensed for safety. P1027768, D10401465, E1185643, S3308699, HIC 628926, SM3004646, HOD 635, HOD 223.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
If Ernest Hemingway was alive today, would he say this to you?
Shakespeare, Mark Twain, Edgar Allan Poe, all great writers. And after reading your book, I simply must add you to the list.
Wait, you don't have a book yet. So make a free call to Page Publishing. Turn your book idea into publishing gold.
800-215-6818. 800-215-6818. That's 800-215-6818.
Hi, Don Cussin here. With summer travel upon us, before you hit the road, have your car or motorhome checked out by Cussin Automotive. When was the last time your vehicle had a thorough inspection and not just an oil change? Your tires, what condition and how old are they? Your cooling system, what condition are your belts and hoses in? Are your brakes ready for a road trip? What about your engine? Is it running at peak performance? Based on the price of gas, be sure you optimize your fuel mileage. So before you head out, do it right with Cussin Automotive.
Cussin Automotive. Do it right. Cussin. Do it right.
Hi, this is Stu Leonard and my wife Kim, and we lost our 2-year-old son to a drowning accident. It's been our lifelong dream to open up a swim school. Drowning is the #1 cause of death for children under 5, but those who take swim lessons are 88% less likely to drown. Sign up for swim lessons today at stewietheduck.org, and all profits from the school will go to swim lessons for the needy.
Visit stewietheduck.org for your free intro lesson today.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
If you have unfiled taxes or are to the IRS, this is important news. The IRS just rolled out a new program to help struggling taxpayers more easily resolve their tax problems. It's called the Taxpayer Relief Initiative, and it opens up powerful new options for people looking to get back on the right track with the IRS. And no one knows this program like the professionals at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution company. They've resolved over $1 billion in tax debt for their clients and have the expertise and experience to help you. One easy call to Optima can start the process, helping to put an end to your worries of wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other aggressive IRS actions. Make today the beginning of your fresh start with the IRS. Call the experts at Optima Tax Relief now for your free confidential consultation.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Hey, it's Joe D'Ambrosio giving a salute to the broadcaster at 100.
We're back, Reese on the radio, and let me just read a couple of these comments here. Rama says, so CNN managed to get all 4 pro-regime Iranians out of 92 million people. Yes, they did. They managed to find 4. Also, Peter said, I've been saying it for years that a 13th century theocracy with 21st century weapons is a recipe for disaster. I tend to agree with that, Peter. You're right on point. However, Sokolowski in the chat room thinks otherwise, and I want to read his comment because I've heard this before, and I want to see if I can articulate a response to it. Because I think it's a fair question. I know the question's been asked, so I don't want to dismiss it. Let me read it. He says, who are we to tell what they can or can't have? This is all about money and land. Not with you on this. I am not a warmonger. Tucker is spot on this topic. Our government thrives on war. I get where Sokolowski is coming from. And avid listener to the show, always a supporter. So he's not being antagonistic here in saying that, because his sentiment is felt by a lot of people who are non-political. people who think or suggest that, look, other countries have nuclear weapons, why not them? And I think I said this earlier, is we have the number one state sponsor of terrorism around the globe. A country that uses its finances to fund proxies to attack their geopolitical enemies and chant death to America, death to the West, and death to Israel. The Ayatollah Khomeini publicly says, we are here to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. Now, that can be rhetoric. Some people may even argue that it's saber rattling. Okay. But if indeed this regime is the theocracy that we know it is, that they believe that the afterlife for them is the beginning. And that's not hyperbolic. That's not even controversial to say. That's what they believe. And we know that of the Ayatollah Khomeini, that he will be a martyr in his passing. All of them go into this with that thought process, don't they? So again, this isn't about smearing a religion or a way of life. We're talking about documented things coming out of their mouths. Okay? Not us injecting what we think they are. This is who they are. So putting them or giving them an opportunity for a nuclear weapon, knowing everything that they have done or are willing to do to sacrifice proxies. And how do I mean? Do they finance people to strap bombs on their person to take out the enemy, sacrifice their own lives? Yes. Yes. Is their military willing to die for their cause or what they believe? Religiously, yes. Without concern for the well-being of others? They already believe that the West is like the plague, the great Satan. Satan! That's not like, the church lady who's calling people Satan. This is like people who believe that you are the devil. And they believe that they have a righteous position to eliminate you, that you are the poison of the world. And you must be sacrificed. You must be removed at the expense of all others, because this is an ungodly place. And they think it's been put upon them by their supreme leader to eradicate the world of such villainy and Satan. So you believe putting a nuclear weapon in their hands is a good idea so that they can, I don't know, be a part of the West, or at least have the same, abilities as, would it be China or Russia or Europe, the United States? You believe that this country should be on a level playing field with the rest of us. They've got absolutely no record, none, no record of humanitarianism across the globe. No record of it. What country has Iran made free? At all. It's agree with us or die. You know that. I know that. So it's not about whether or not we have the right. I get where you're coming from. It's like, who are we to tell anyone? Because if you're looking at it from that point of view, right, if that's the perception that you have, is that we're telling others what they're allowed to have, I don't think that's our position at all. I don't think that's anybody's position. Our position is knowing the threat, let's try it this way. Let's try it this way. And I'll put it as simple terms as you could. You have a known murderer who is willing to kill and has shown that they are willing to kill. Do you allow that person to have a semi-automatic rifle? Do you have that person carry a cache of knives and other weapons? You know that this person is capable, and not capable because he says it, because he's done it. Would you put more weapons in that person's hand, or would you do anything and everything to prevent them from having the capability to take human lives? What would you do? Seriously, what would you do? You wouldn't think of it. It would be moronic if you found out that your local politicians were allowing known gangbangers, known people who are willing to kill and execute others for their own profit, their own means, to allow them to just keep curating more and more weapons. You wouldn't think of it. You would think it was ridiculous. And I understand you want to give Iran the benefit of the doubt, but how? What evidence do we have? What evidence do you have that suggests that they should be trusted with a nuclear weapon? What evidence suggests that these guys are just normal guys living in a country trying to protect themselves from everybody else? You know, because of the onslaught of missiles that have been coming their way as people try to eradicate those people. There's no evidence of that. None. So I'm just looking at it from that perspective. Yeah, it's a tough deal. And I almost feel like, if I'm speaking for Sokolowski here, and if I'm wrong, Sokolowski, of course you can opine on that in the chat room. But I believe that there's a part of this that suggests that, and it's more or less looking at the response as opposed to the action. And that is, by doing what we've done, we've only sort of rattled that cage. So now we've given them reason to do whatever they wanted to do in the first place. Attack us, release the hounds, set loose the terror cells in and around the globe. That all we're doing is just telling them that we want that fight and putting other people in danger. Well, imagine if we didn't stop them. There'd be no stopping them. Just think about that. Imagine we did not stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. There would be no stopping them at all. It's game over. We're not talking about guys who use nuclear weapons as a threat by saying, hey, don't forget, I got nukes. Hey, don't forget, I got ICBMs. No, these guys are like, hey, we're firing them. Like first thought. We got it, everybody dies. And again, not hyperbolic. That's it. That's the way they look at this. And somebody tell me different. Just anybody tell me different. That is not the rationale of the Ayatollah, the mullahs, or anyone else for that matter in the region, with the exception of the people who wish to get from up under this rule. Just tell me. Aaron says that Iran wouldn't use their own nuclear weapons. They would give them to their surrogates. Yes, it's a very strong point. It's a very, very strong point. I should have actually, I played this yesterday for my wife because I wanted her to hear it. Because this was absolutely, I thought this scene was just so, it was so up there. Let me see if this thing pops up on here. Yes. All right, I got to let for the stupid commercial because it's on YouTube to go on. There was an old movie back in the 90s called Wag the Dog, and I don't know whether or not you folks remember it or have seen it, but it's a really, really good movie that is worth somebody checking out again. Let me see if this is it. Hold on.
Let me go you one more. If there's no threat, what good are you? Mr. Breen, you are the threat. I'm the threat. I am the threat. Well, what have I been doing the last 30 years that you haven't been doing? You want to fill me in on that?
The last 30 years, Mr. Breen, I have been working to ensure the security of my country.
As have we all, and I would like to point out that the security of this country... But if forced to choose between the security of your country and the security of your job, which would you pick? And while you hesitate, permit me to suggest that they are one and the same, your country and your job.
I'm doing my job, Mr. Breen. That's what you see me doing.
I'm doing my job,
What is it you were doing?
I'm doing my job, too. And let me ask you something. Let me ask you a simple question.
This is the part.
Why do people go to war? Why do they go to war?
I'll play your silly game.
Okay, why do they go to war?
To ensure their way of life.
Would you go to war to do that?
I have.
And if you went to war again, who would it be against? Huh? Your ability to fight a two-ocean war against who? Who? Sweden and Togo? That time is past. It's over. The war of the future is nuclear terrorism. It is, and it'll be against a small group of dissidents who, unbeknownst perhaps to their own governments, have blah, 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 blah. And to go to that war, you have to be prepared. You got to be alert. The public has got to be alert, because that is the war of the future. And if you're not gearing up to fight that war, then eventually the axe will fall, and you're going to be out in the street. And you could call this a drill. You could call this job security. You could call it anything you like. But I got one for you. You said go to war to preserve your way of life. Well, Chuck, this is your way of life.
We'll take a break. Again, Wag the Dog, Robert De Niro, William H. Macy. You have to see the film. If you haven't, go check it out. But that scene always gets to me. Always gets to me. We'll take a break. More news, more views, and, of course, your phone calls at 860-522-9842. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Russell Speeders Car Wash is proud to support canines for CT vets. When you wash your car at Russell Speeders, you're helping provide service dogs to Connecticut veterans in need. Shine up your ride and make a difference. Visit Russell Speeders Car Wash today, proudly supporting our heroes, one clean car at a time. Russell Speeders Car Wash. Clean cars, strong communities.
100 years ago, our founder, Winfred Ira Clark, started out with a mission: sell superior construction equipment and back it with the quality parts and service customers expect and deserve. Today, the W.I. Clark Company maintains that same philosophy. With premium brands like John Deere, Wirtgen, Lee Boy, and more, we provide you the productivity to grow. The W.I. Clark Company, your trusted source for construction equipment for over 100 years. Find us at wiclark.com.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
Come on a minute. Having a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair? Would it leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. If your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection on the drivetrain, AC, and more. Get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value free.
Call for your fast free quote today. 800-310-0219. 800-310-0219.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
It's Reese on the Radio. Ask your doctor if common sense is right for you. On News Talk 1080 WTIC.
I will tell you, that's the reason why I love this audience, because they are so smart and they remember sort of these pop culture references and political references. Aaron B. said about the movie Wag the Dog. He said it's basically a movie about Bill Clinton and his bombing of an aspirin factory to distract from the Lewinsky scandal. Well, kind of. But what I thought was interesting that the movie had come out. I had gone to see it. And then the bombing of the aspirin factory took place. And he was on Camp David. This happened immediately after that famous video of he, Hillary, and Chelsea walking onto Marine One going to Camp David. And they're on their way going to Camp David, and the camera crews behind them. No one spoke. Hillary was on either side and Hillary and Bill were on either side of Chelsea as they walked to Marine One. Anyway, he gets to Camp David, and then the strike on the aspirin factory takes place. And during that press conference, as he was talking about those strikes, which, by the way, he did without informing Congress or without congressional approval, one of the reporters asked during that press conference whether or not Bill Clinton was pulling a wag the dog distraction. And I'll never forget, I watched that live, and because even I was saying, is this that? And he was questioning. They were going, no, it wasn't. And of course, it only looks like that in hindsight, many years later, finding out that it was, this pharmaceutical facility. It wasn't even, I don't even think it was, the intelligence was remotely, accurate. I think the whole thing was done. I'm trying to remember exactly where that was. Was it Yemen? Where that strike took place? I want to say it was Yemen. I feel like it was Yemen. But I remember, I'll never forget that press conference when he said that. When the reporter asked him, he was like, is this a kind of a wag the dog moment? I was like, I just saw that. And it was pretty weird. But, what are you going to do? That's where no one ever brought it up after that. I think it's a fair enough question. When we come back, I've got a very interesting story that was in the Hartford Courant over the weekend. And you may have missed it. If you don't check out the newspaper on the weekend, that's fine. But I don't want to let this story go because I think that there is something going on in the medical field and politicians in the state of Connecticut. Headline, Connecticut Democrats fight back after U.S. Supreme Court decision on transgender care hailed by Trump. And there are senators, politicians, local, all of them, of course on the left, who are fighting how do I put it? They're fighting to keep gender-affirming care in the hospitals and the clinics in the state. And I believe that there's something else going on here. And we'll read some of that story coming up in the next break. If you've read the story and if you have some insight on this in some way, join us on the show at 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. We'll talk about that, of course, as well as the stupidest thing I read today. And last but not least, I got a letter from somebody who knows Richard Barrington. He was the 18-year-old or the 20-year-old now was just sentenced on Friday for killing Bobby Garden, Detective Bobby Garden. I got a letter from somebody who knows him, Richard Barrington. And I'm going to read that in a little bit too. So stay tuned for that. We've got more news, more views, and it's time for Weather and Traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher, who's in the BPS Traffic Center. Welcome to your Monday, guys. How are you, Mark?
I'm doing really well, Reese. Thank you. I hope you are too. And good afternoon. If you're heading into Hartford right now, this traffic report being brought to you by Amplify CT. 91 southbound looking at delays 33 down to 32 A and B. Northbound side of 91 moving well, Cromwell up into Windsor. Westbound 84 slows Bulkley Bridge to 47 Sigourney. 84 eastbound locked up about a mile before 46 Sisson Avenue into the tunnel. 2 westbound just a little slow as you merge with 84 west. 291 through 84 okay east of the river. If you're heading into Middletown 9 northbound delays 22 to the Aragoni Bridge. 91 southbound Meriden slowing from 19 to 17. 84 eastbound in Waterbury tight 17 to 18. Westbound 84 slowing 26 to 25A and again 22 to the Mixmaster. If you're heading out into Danbury, 84 eastbound slowing from the New York Connecticut line out to 5. Again, 8 out to 11 in Newtown. And southbound on the Parkway, a little slow, 60 into the West Rock Tunnel. Strength isn't just what you carry, but what you can let go of. June is Men's Mental Health Month, and Amplify CT reminds you that help is here. Visit amplifyct.org for resources and support. You matter. And today we acknowledge our old friend Mike Allen, who unfortunately passed away back in December. And Mike was our traffic reporter here for 40 years, 38 of those years in WTIC's Air One. Today we mark his first anniversary of his birthday in heaven. Traffic and weather together on the 8th WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC is celebrating 100 years on the air and 100 years of serving Connecticut. This is WTIC and WTIC FM HD2 Hartford, an Odyssey station.
4 o'clock, good afternoon. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News. Partly sunny. We've got high heat and humidity. We have that extreme heat warning up through at least tomorrow. We'll check in with a health expert on the heat coming up. Iran has retaliated against the U.S. for its strikes on nuclear facilities over the weekend. The latest in this update from CBS News.
By launching a series of missiles against a massive U.S. base in Qatar.
They were successful intercepting this missile attack by Iran, and there are no casualties reported so far, at least, on the ground.
Military analyst Jeff McCausland.
The first thing they might well do is identify where these particular missiles were launched from. And obviously, if that's a fixed site, though it may not have been, do an immediate retaliatory strike from where that came from.
But it's not clear if things will go any further. Nations in the region are on edge, especially those which host U.S. bases like Iraq and Kuwait. CBS's Olivia Gazas.
Time will tell whether this is an opening volley or the extent of the response. We knew something had to come.
The Trump administration has been saying it still wants a diplomatic solution. There's been no response from the White House to today's attack. CBS News Special Report. I'm Cammie McCormick.
Now, most Democrats, including Connecticut's 1st District Congressman John Larson, believe President Trump needed to at least brief Congress on the plan first.
I think that there would be, a majority of support, on both sides, especially as it relates to making sure that Iran doesn't have nuclear power. The Ayamani Kahomia has been a problem for many, many years, et cetera. But
back here with the stroke of his veto pen, Governor Lamont went against his fellow Democrats in nixing 2 controversial bills that came out of the legislative session just passed. One of them, the striking workers bill, that would have given unemployment benefits to workers who've been off the job for more than 14 days. Governor says he doesn't believe it helps job security for unionized workers.
I was just at the Paris Air Show, and I saw all the other governors grouped around Pratt Whitney saying, come to Georgia, you'll find a better work environment than we have, you might have in Connecticut. And I said, that's not true. You want to be in Connecticut. We have a very constructive, best workforce in the world. And I just think the striking workers bill would send the wrong message when it comes to protecting each and every one of those jobs.
Well, Lamont said he wasn't happy about the housing bill either.
I think for the housing to continue growing successfully, it has to be led by our towns. It has to be led by our first selectmen. It has to be led by our mayors. I just don't think it works if it's us against them. A little bit, that was their sense when they looked at this bill right now.
Governor also signed a measure into law cracking down on those so-called street takeovers. The new law increases penalties and fines against those who take part in, organize, or even spectators of reckless driving. Such behavior, Lamont says, can result in a 2-year suspension of one's driver's license with more than 3 violations. The new law also gives the freedom to municipalities to adopt their own ordinances against street takeovers as they see fit. And the bill gives cities and towns the power to destroy ATVs, dirt bikes, and mini bikes that are seized during takeovers. Heat advisories and warnings in effect in Connecticut through at least tomorrow. For many, it's just uncomfortable. But for others, particularly those with underlying health issues, it can be dangerous, even deadly. Dr. Rebecca Andrews, the director of primary care at UConn Health, says first and foremost, stay hydrated. She says the type of clothing one wears can also have a positive or negative impact.
Breathable clothing, so the wind can move through it to cool you off. it might wick away some of the sweat that does cool your body, but can also cause materials to stick to you.
Also advises limiting caffeine and alcohol intake in this weather. And she says limit strenuous activity like exercise. Keep it early morning or evening when the heat isn't as searing. Wall Street, the Dow up 374 points. NASDAQ up 183. S&P up 57. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
Weight loss by Hers is full price depends on product and plan purchase. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, clinical study information, and restrictions, visit forhers.com.
Everyone's talking about the breakthrough of weight loss medications, but too few can access or afford them. Hers is changing that by offering access to Wegovy GLP-1 treatment through their platform. 50% off retail price. Wegovy is FDA approved for weight loss and can help you lose up to 20% of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. All dosages of Wegovy are offered at the same price and are eligible for FSA and HSA reimbursement. At forhers.com/radio, treatments are prescribed 100% online. A medical provider on their platform will determine if a weight loss plan is right for you, and if prescribed, your plan ships free directly to your door. By getting access to Wegovy through Hers, you get so much more than just medication or along your weight loss journey. See if Wegovy is right for you at forhers.com/radio. That's forhers.com/radio. FORHERS.com/radio.
It's Reese on the radio. And don't say we didn't warn you on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
We're back, and when we get some weather and traffic on the opposite side of that, talk about this article in the Hartford Courant over the weekend. Connecticut Democrats fighting back after the U.S. Supreme Court's decision on transgender care. I found a couple of interesting things that I believe is happening. I don't think they're going to have a lot of luck pushing back on the Supreme Court decision, with the left talking about, it's the law of the land. When it comes down, it's insane. But I want to mention why I think it's going to become a bit of a, if not scandal, an issue in the state of Connecticut and why so many Democrats are pushing back on this. It's something that wasn't covered in this story and should be. And maybe an investigation needs to be looked into. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I want to say congratulations to our Between Rounds winner today. That is Jackie A. out of Enfield. Jackie wins a dozen bagels a month for 6 months, courtesy of Between Rounds, the Bagel Bakery and Sandwich Cafe. Now they've got smoothies. Be sure to check them out. They are in South Windsor, Vernon, and Manchester. And I know that, and I just have to keep looking. I know where it is. But make sure that you check them out today. Also, Big Y sells Between Rounds bagels as well. If you'd like to be a participant or get an opportunity to win, please go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. Fill out the form. Please make sure to put in your date of birth. Do not forget to put in your date of birth when you're filling out the form. Must live in Connecticut and may not have won within the last 30 days. Go to reeseontheradio.com to become a Between Rounds bagel.
60 days.
Sorry? I'm sorry?
May have not have won in 6 months.
Oh, you can't win in 6 months. I apologize. It's 6 months, not 30 days, 6 months. I know better. Anyway, let's get another check for traffic and weather. Jason Catarina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Why did I think 30 days? I have no idea. 6 months. My bad. Hey, Mark.
Hey, buddy. Thank you very much. Reese, if you're traveling northbound on 5 and 15, Weathersfield, Hartford line, we have an accident between exit 85 and 86 is in the right lane, so you got a delay behind that. Southbound 91 coming into Hartford, slowing by 33. Northbound 91's okay. Cromwell up into Windsor Locks. Westbound 84 slows Bulkley Bridge to 45 Flatbush. 84 eastbound slowing a mile before 46 Sisson Avenue to the Bulkley. 291 through 84 okay. 2 eastbounds looking good, Glastonbury to Marlboro. 9 northbound slowing approaching Harbor Park to the Aragoni Bridge. 84 eastbound Waterbury tight 17 to 18. Westbound 84 is slowing from exit 25 up to the Mixmaster. And if you're traveling into New Haven, southbound Parkway a little slow at the West Rock Tunnel. 95 south slowing 46 down to 44. And today we acknowledge our friend Mike Allen, who was our traffic reporter here for 40 years, 38 in WTIC's Air 1 today is his first heavenly birthday. Mike, we miss you. Traffic and weather together on the 8s. WTIC News Talk 1080.
Brought to you by the CT Insider. Explore more at ctinsider.com.
There's more to Connecticut with CT Insider, a hometown behind every headline. With every issue, investigation, or interview, there's more when you're following from the inside. Visit ctinsider.com for more.
WTIC weather.
Reese, you can blame the confusion on the heat out there. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Feels like temperatures will be near 110 this afternoon. And again tomorrow, partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight. Little relief from the heat, the low only down to 73. Record-breaking temperatures for us on Tuesday, mostly sunny, very hot and humid, the high up to 98. Mainly clear, very warm Tuesday night. Again, little relief from the heat as it'll be warmer, the low only down to 78. Wednesday, record-breaking temperatures once again, very hot and humid. A thunderstorm in spots for the afternoon. Some of those could be packing a punch with flooding downpours and some localized damaging wind gusts. The high 97, a relief as we head toward the second half of the week. Still humid, but not as warm on Thursday. Cloudy, thunderstorm around the high of 79. Cloudy with a brief shower or two on Friday, but pleasant temps, the high of 75. Right now, with a dew point at 73, the heat index at 107 right now in Hartford. It's 92 degrees in Bridgeport, 90 in New Haven. 93 in Waterbury, 97 in Hartford. Like I said, 107 what it feels like outside in Hartford right now. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
Wisdom teeth giving you trouble? Columbia Dental's expert oral surgeons specialize in comfortable and efficient wisdom tooth removal. Open 7 days a week. Call 860-645-0111 or visit columbiadental.com.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Slow? Clogged? Backed up? Don't worry. ALO Home Services has you covered. For only $93, our technician will clear any drain in your home. And if it can't be cleared, it's free. Call for details. Licensed for safety. P102776688, D10401465, E1185643, S3308699, HIC 628926, SM3004646, HOD 635, HOD 223.
Hey, it's
1 minute.
Filter
Yes,
Trusted
sir.
Pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood, ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
President of the Chris Murphy Fan Club, Reese on the Radio, on News Talk 1080, WTIC.
I promise you I did not plan that. He is in this, this section of the show. Connecticut Democrats fight back after Supreme Court decision on transgender health care. And you may have heard this last week that a landmark decision by the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that there shall be no transgender surgeries on minors, which again will stop that nationwide. And Democrats nationwide are fighting back. One of the measures is they are signing, or they are trying to create what's called the Equality Act and the No Place for LGBTQ plus Hate Act. They are designed to push for non-discriminatory protections at the federal level. The pushback has increased since the days of the Supreme Court ruling that was 6-3 in the Skermetti versus U.S., which holds a controversial Tennessee law that banned gender-affirming care for minors. The ruling was hailed by conservatives in President Donald Trump's administration. Senator Dick Blumenthal, predicted that the ruling on the Tennessee law would be categorized as some of the biggest in American history. Dick Blumenthal said, quote, I think this Supreme Court decision will rank with Dred Scott. Come on, man. Plessy v. Ferguson and Dobbs in the panoply of wrongfully decided decisions, he said, end quote. He was referring, of course, to the Dred Scott decision that helped lead to the Civil War by blocking citizenship for African Americans. I don't think it's that serious, buddy. Calm down. Calm down. Anyway, Blumenthal also compared the Scarmetti decision to the Dobbs ruling, saying that the states will now be free to set their own laws and establish a system that will vary sharply from state to state. Other people, of course, who were drawn on is none other than Chris Murphy, who is glommed onto this. Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut joined with 17 other senators and 20 U.S. House members as co-sponsors of this new No Place for LGBTQ plus Hate Act. The sponsors include some of the most prominent liberal leaders in the nation, including Senator Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Adam Schiff, Cory Booker. The House co-sponsors include Jasmine Crockett and Jamie Raskin, among others. But I was looking at this, and I refuse to just take this story on the surface. It's obvious Democrats would be against this. And then, like they did with the Dobbs decision, try to seek a way to come up with a bill that would federalize the ability to abort. And doing it now, in some cases, is only platitudes. They don't have the House. They don't have the Senate. Perhaps this could be a wedge issue to get them, to get the House in the midterms, which I doubt. I doubt that sincerely. But something about this, I don't know why, but my nose went in a direction, and I went, why would people be talking about this in the way that they are, knowing that there's no real way to get this no LGBTQ plus hate bill passed? There's no likelihood. But what's the fight about? So I did a little bit of digging. Not a lot, just a little bit. And with that, I came up with this. This is what I searched for. My first search was, who gives gender-affirming care in the state of Connecticut? Well, that list was not short. Connecticut Children's Gender Program in Hartford does. Yukon Health Transgender Medicine Services does. They in Farmington. Anchor Healthcare Center in Hartford and Hamden does. Middlesex Health Center for Gender Medicine and Wellness, that's in Middlesex. Yale Health Gender Affirming Care in New Haven. Planned Parenthood of Southern New England, located in New Haven. Institute of Living Center for Gender Health in Hartford. Wheeler Health Walk With Me program in Hartford. These are people, again, I searched which one of these clinics give gender-affirming care. But that wasn't it. I hadn't been really clear, or the internet or other places are not really clear on how much these surgeries cost. I can't remember what the source was, but I remember very early in this conversation that there was a leaked video of a conference of doctors, physicians, and other healthcare providers who were on stage talking about how one particular clinic that was in the red ended up in the black in 1 year, one fiscal year, by giving these surgeries. And many people have talked about how expensive they are. Maybe someone has more info on this, but I went to go look it up. A lot of parents do get or can use their insurance, their private insurance, to pay for this care, but not all of it. In most of the cases that I looked up, the out-of-pocket cost, even with insurance, is $5,000 out of pocket with insurance. Also, many have used Medicaid as the insurance provider to get gender-affirming care. They're not exactly specific on what some of those things are, but let me run through a few of them that these healthcare providers in Connecticut provide. Connecticut Children's Gender Program in Hartford. Services include mental health support, hormone therapy, gender-affirming surgeries through their Division of Plastic Surgery. Requires a pediatrician referral and for medical interventions, and an evaluation letter from a mental health professional, which are giving those out like candy. Yukon Health Transgender Medicine Services provides comprehensive care, including gender-affirming hormone therapy. Other surgical options like voice modification, rhinoplasty, hysterectomies, and general gynecological and urologic care for transgender patients. Anchor Healthcare, Connecticut's leading LGBTQ plus healthcare center, offering primary care, gender-affirming medicine, hormone therapy, and mental health services. Focuses on inclusive, no gatekeeping care with in-house case managers to assist patients. Middlesex, a healthcare center for gender medicine and wellness. Providers personalized hormone therapy, mental health support. Recognize that's healthcare stuff. They don't give any other. Multidisciplinary team primary care. Endocrinology. This is from the Yale Health Gender Affirming Care Center in New Haven. Requires one letter of support for top or bottom surgeries. Requires one letter. Planned Parenthood provides hormone replacement therapy and gender-affirming care with sliding scales fees for uninsured patients. Sliding scale. Institute for Living Center for Gender Health offers comprehensive health care for transgender adults, including mental health and medical services. Well, that's for adults, so that doesn't matter. Outpatient treatment for wow, this one's good. Wheeler Health Walk With Me program in Hartford. Outpatient treatment for LGBTQ plus youth ages 10 to 25, including gender-affirming care, therapy, and peer support. Clinicians trained in trans-inclusive care. Again, some of these cases have parents paying at least, even with insurance, $5,000 out of pocket. It is extremely lucrative. Now, why do I bring all of this up? Does anybody remember our very own Chris Murphy having a conniption about the murder of the U.S. healthcare CEO? And in trying to condemn the murder at the hands of Luigi Mangione, was making a case that these healthcare providers were harming people, not caring about their well-being, and wishing, pretty much leaving them for dead by not giving them the proper care. Knowing damn well that some of these surgeries, especially bottom surgeries, have left these patients either depressed or going back for more follow-ups, never being the same again. And many of them becoming suicidal anyway, taking their own lives. Worse off than the point when they got there. This guy was out there talking about how these healthcare providers don't care about your life and death. And now all of a sudden, this guy is backing surgeries that are not perfected at all. We're talking like nowhere near. Botched surgeries, really, really botched surgeries, where people are tragically disfigured, who've ended up with cancer, far worse than someone who just develops it naturally or over time due to estrogen intake. This guy And no one's saying anything. No one said a word. No one's even pushed back on it. And everyone's looking at this saying that this is, again, as Dick Blumenthal puts it, the same thing as the Dred Scott decision. That's saying mutilating these people or the right for them to be mutilated, children, is as equal to the Dred Scott decision? And this article, again, doesn't even question it. I mean, and they got a direct quote from both of these senators. Nobody even bothered to push back. No one's even giving any of the information I just gathered. And that's a rudimentary background from me on what these transgender surgeries have caused a lot of these patients who come out on the other end far more than just emotionally scarred, physically dismembered. And they want to talk about this like it's tantamount to slavery. On children, gender-affirming care these guys are promoting for kids at the age of 10. Against the idea of them drinking alcohol, making the decision to drink alcohol, making the decision to get a tattoo at that age. Huh? But yeah, mutilate them. Cut off their body parts. Invert their body parts. Far worse. And disgusting. I mean, all of this is crazy. And people just treat this like, oh, yeah, the bigoted Trump administration. Look at him trying to save children's lives. What a bigot. And these guys just walking around, not even challenged. Not even challenged. Not even by us. Not even by the media. No one's even questioning it. This article came out on Sunday and just everybody walked away from it. Just said, hey, we're going to fight it here in Connecticut. Again, call me crazy. Something's happening. Something that's far more sinister than we're letting on. That we're even focusing on. It is really, really scary what's going on. From this gender-affirming care to questionable books in libraries and in classrooms. This is sick. It's a sickness that's got to be addressed. And it's got to be pushed back on. And I don't think there's ever been a moment in our history that's ever been more important. I don't, and it is the future for children or for anyone in this state or any other liberal state all the way to San Francisco. This is going to be something that is absolutely irreversible. We're creating mutants with this legislation or these ideas. Mutants. And not one person is challenging it. Not in any meaningful way. Not in any real meaningful way. I get the politicians who are, putting out tweets. That's all well and good. But something else needs to be done. That's all I'm saying. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls on this. We got the stupidest thing I read today when we return. And your phone calls at 860-522-WTIC. Let's get another check of weather, traffic, and news. Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
All right, Reese, thank you very much. Well, we have an accident now, 5 and 50 northbound on the Weathersfield Hartford line between exit 85 and exit 86. The right lane is reportedly blocked there, so you want to stay to the left with that situation. Southbound 91 into Hartford slowing by 33 Jennings Road. Northbound 91 moving well Cromwell through downtown up into Windsor. Westbound 84 slowing approaching the Bulkley Bridge out to 47 Sigourney. 84 eastbound slowing approaching 46 down into the tunnel. 291 through 84 okay. 2 westbound's a little slow as you merge with 84 west and east Hartford. Northbound 9 moving into Middletown slowing just after 22 to the Aragoni Bridge. 84 westbound Waterbury slowing by 26. Again, 22 to the Mixmaster in Waterbury. 84 eastbound's locked up approaching 17 to 18 in Waterbury. If you are traveling 84 eastbound in Danbury, delays from the New York, Connecticut line to 5. Again, from 8 in Danbury out to exit 11 in Newtown. South 95 New Haven slowing 46 down to 43 in New Haven. Traffic and weather together on the 8's WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
Partly sunny, very hot and humid this afternoon. Will break the record with one of the hottest days of the year so far, the high of 98. Then partly cloudy, remaining warm and humid tonight. The low only down to 73. On Tuesday, mostly sunny, breaking the record again with a very hot and humid day. The high back to 98. Wednesday, record-breaking temps again, hot and humid with a mix of clouds and sun. A thunderstorm in the afternoon that could produce flooding, downpours, and localized damaging wind gusts. The high 97. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
There's a lot happening in Washington and in your local neighborhood. Follow WTIC News Talk 1080 on the Odyssey app to keep up with the latest. And now, a WTIC news update.
4:30, good afternoon. I'm John Silva. Iran launched limited missile attack today on a U.S. military base in Qatar, retaliating for the American bombing of its nuclear sites over the weekend, but indicating it was prepared to step back from escalating tensions. There were no U.S. casualties. President Trump dismissed the attack as a very weak response and said the U.S. was warned by Iran in advance. Regarding Saturday's mission, the vast majority of this state's congressional delegation, all Democrats, say the president should have told them, or at least their leadership, in advance. Congressman John Larson says such action amounts to an act of war, and that Congress is the only body that can sanction that. Jury has watched nearly 20 minutes of recordings of marathon sex events that prosecutors and defense lawyers have both cited as important to the outcome of the sex trafficking trial of disgraced music mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The recordings shown to the jury today by prosecutors roughly doubled the time the jury has spent viewing the explicit footage of two of Combs' former girlfriends involved with male sex workers while Combs filmed those encounters. Man facing reckless driving charges in Connecticut, and they say Brockton, Massachusetts resident Carlos Gallegos Loja was spotted driving 122 miles an hour in a 65-mile-an-hour zone on I-84 on Sunday. Wall Street, the Dow finished up 374 points. The NASDAQ gained 183, and the S&P was up 57. Another late one for the Red Sox tonight as the West Coast swing continues. Sox and the L.A. Angels at the Big A. 8:38 pregame here on TIC. Yanks take their show to Cincinnati to face the Reds. The Mets have been pretty horrific the last week or so. We'll try to right things against the Braves tonight at Citi Field. Eastern League, the Yard Goats are idle. They begin a series Tuesday against the New Hampshire Fisher Cats. For these stories and more, go to WTIC.com. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
Low testosterone affects many men today, even men as young as 30. But finding someone you can trust for quality low T treatment isn't so easy. This is Dale for Northeast Men's Health, a Promedic restorative health practice. And that's why I'm pleased to announce the opening of our newest location of Northeast Men's Health right here in Warwick. As a Promedic affiliate, Northeast Men's Health has the experience and expertise to get you the right treatment for your particular medical situation. At Northeast Men's Health, we're experts in treating low testosterone. In fact, we've successfully treated thousands of men for low T and have seen the amazing impacts low T treatments have. If you're like most men, you'll sleep better, have more energy and improve mental clarity, get better gains in the gym, and your sex drive will likely improve as well. So call us. Just $99 gets you a PSA and T test and a medical consult. And if you start on testosterone the day of your appointment, your visit is free. Call 800-930-5956. That's 800-930-5956. Or go to northeastmenshealth.com. We have 6 offices across the Northeast to serve you.
You log into your DS.
1 minute.
Thank you.
Where do you build a campaign? Where's the report? Targeting's vague, CTV's tacked on and overpriced. Then you find Viant. Setup? Just a chat prompt. AI does the rest. Targeting? People-based and precise across premium publishers. Measurement? Transparent, outcome-driven. And CTV? We've led since streaming meant something. Viant is the DSP that actually gets advertising. Still trading on a desk? Visit Viant.ai to unlock real results today.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Stay locked in. Reese on the Radio is on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Let's do it.
Yes, you do. Stupid as can be. This could very well be the stupidest person on the face of the earth.
You know, Steven in the chat room earlier in the show said that, he doesn't like it when I say that, we all know or you folks know. And he says there are a lot of people out there who are stupid who might be listening to the show. Well, Steven, you'll like this this part of the stupidest thing I read today. According to a U.gov poll, a whopping third of non-Trump voters think the U.S. is a dictatorship. Now, you didn't need a poll to do this. In fact, I would have said, I would have gone with half of non-Trump voters. I think this number is demonstrably low. All things, which again, for Donald Trump, looks like things are picking up, if you think about it. According to a new poll, over a third of Americans who aren't aligned with President Donald Trump believe the United States is now a dictatorship. This says there was widespread criticism, over a week ago during the military parade to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, which also coincided with Trump's 79th birthday. Some observers compared the spectacle to the sort that's normally seen in dictatorships. In the new YouGov poll that was taken from the 16th through the 18th of this year, shows that a significant and ever-increasing percentage of Americans believe that the United States is already a dictatorship under Trump. Respondents to the poll were asked, do you agree or disagree with the following? When presented with the statement, the U.S. is a dictatorship, 24% of respondents overall said they agree. But if you exclude Republicans or Trump voters, the result swells past a third. Among Democrats, 35% agreed the United States is already a dictatorship, while 30% of self-described independents also agreed. Only 7% of Trump voters agreed with the statement. 7%? That's relatively high. That's right. 7%? I mean, according to Democrats, that would be insanely high, right? That number should be like 1. 7%? I think Donald Trump needs to work on that. They agreed. Anyway, they agreed with the sentiment. 37% of people who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris. What? 37% of people who voted for Vice President Kamala Harris said the United States is already a dictatorship. Moreover, the percentage of people who believe the U.S. is a dictatorship has risen sharply since the first weeks of President Trump's second term. So apparently this is up from 27%. So, I mean, I call this the stupidest thing I read today, but I should have called it the most obvious thing I've read today, considering who the source was. So, yeah, a dictatorship. It already is. And again, going back to my opening monologue, what did I say? What did they call Donald Trump? A despot. They call him Mussolini, a fascist, Hitler, for crying out loud. Other countries know this too. They listen to our news media. Do you think Iran isn't a little bit fearful of him? I mean, for crying out loud, they sent a memo that they were bombing Qatar. They did. That's the new report. They called the United States and said, yes, we're bombing you shortly. Yes, they'll be there in 15 minutes. Get ready. Let's get a check of the weather and traffic with Jason Caterina and Mark Christopher in the BPS Traffic Center. Get ready, Mark.
Hey, Reese, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon to you and good afternoon, everyone. And if you are heading toward Hartford right now, we are looking at an accident 5 and 15 northbound on the Weather Shield Hartford line. It's between exit 85 and exit 86, and the right lane is blocked there, so you want to stay left there. Now, if you're heading into Hartford westbound, 84 delays approaching the Bulkley Bridge at 47, 84 eastbound slows approaching 46 into the tunnel. If you're traveling to westbound, you've got delays from exit 4 up to the 84 west merge. 291 through 84, okay. 9 northbound, Middletown slowing 22 to the Aragoni Bridge. Heading toward Waterbury, 84 eastbound, a little sluggish, 17 to 18. Westbound, 84 slowing 22 into the Mixmaster. 84 eastbound, Danbury, tight 3 to 5. Again, 8 in Danbury, up to 11 in Newtown. Traveling into New Haven, southbound side of the Parkway, a little slow as you move down by exit 59 in New Haven. And today we remember our friend Mike Allen, who passed in December. Mike was our traffic reporter here for 40 of the 100 years we've been on the air, 38 years in WTIC's Air One, and today is Mike's first heavenly birthday, so we miss you, Mike. Traffic and weather together on the 8s. WTIC News Talk 1080.
Brought to you by Staples.
How many times have we all said, that was easy? Well, the Staples Easy button is back, and it's got us saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos. Plus, quality products delivered next day to over 98% of the U.S. Staples, that was easy.
WTIC weather.
Well, listen, please be very, very cautious outside in this ridiculous heat and obscene humidity. The dew point at 77 is so far into the tropical range. We're talking about rainforest level out there. And the heat index at 110 in Hartford right now. Dangerously hot the next 2 days. An extreme heat warning remains in effect until 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Again, that feels like temperature, the heat index going to be near 110 at times, if not hitting it. Partly cloudy, warm, and humid tonight. Little relief from the heat as it takes all night to only get down to 73. So as soon as the sun comes back up, it's going to start to warm up again very quickly. Record-breaking temperatures for Tuesday, mostly sunny. Again, the high up to 98. Again, that feels like temperature could be as high as 110 tomorrow afternoon once again. Tomorrow night, mainly clear, even warmer. The low only down to 78. Wednesday, record-breaking temperatures once again, very hot and humid. A thunderstorm in spots for the afternoon. Some of those could produce some flooding downpours and localized damaging wind gusts. A high of 97. We get some relief toward the end of the week, though. Thursday, cloudy, turning much cooler, humid with a thunderstorm around the high, only 79. Cloudy Friday, a brief shower or two, but pleasant temps, the high of 75. Right now, we're talking about the heat that Ace Ventura felt inside that Rhino. New Haven at 91, same for Bridgeport, 95, Danbury, 93, Meriden, 97 in Hartford. Feels like 110 with the dew point mixed in there. Please be very cautious. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
Tune in to WTIC News Talk 1080 for Healthy Rounds, Saturday mornings 11 till noon. Learn from the top experts about the latest medical news and call in with your questions. Healthy Rounds, sponsored by Hartford Healthcare, Saturday mornings 11 till noon on WTIC News Talk 1080 and WTIC.com.
Join us this Sunday for Tumalo Financial, your go-to for retirement planning and taxes. Tune in to the father-son duo from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. or catch replay from 5 to 6 p.m. Tumalo Financial, retirement planning with integrity on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Here at ALO, we believe hearing solutions to your main drain problems shouldn't cost a thing. That's why we offer free mainline drain camera inspections and free estimates on sewer line repair or replacement. Contact the trusted professionals at ALO when you call, click, or text today and say, "Hello, ALO." Call for details. Licensed for safety. P10277-688, D10401465, E1185643, S3308699, HIC 628926, SM3004646, HOD 635, HOD 223.
Just hearing the word people
Yes,
break out in a cold sweat. No one wants to deal with the IRS, and now you don't have to. The good news is Legal Tax Defense has been successfully negotiating with the IRS for more than 15 years. It doesn't matter how much you owe, whether it's $5,000 or $5 million. You deserve the best in the business on your side, and that is Legal Tax Defense. Even if you're working with someone else and just want a second opinion, there is no cost or obligation to call. They can prevent levies, liens, wage garnishments, even file back tax returns. And the best news about legal tax defense is they won't take your case unless they know they will reduce or eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-979-3168. 800-979-3168. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-979-3168.
The self-proclaimed love child of Rush Limbaugh.
They're running a strange program, y'all.
Reese on the radio on News Talk 1080 WTIC.
Stick around for the next hour. I've got a letter that was written by someone. They asked me to make them anonymous, so I will. I will respect their wishes. They were a listener of the show. They were paying attention on Friday as we were waiting for the sentencing of Richard Barrington. Apparently, the individual who has written this letter has intimate details into the life of Richard Barrington, and they sent this letter to me. I want to share it with you in the next hour to talk a little bit about this. I know that it will get some reaction to it, and I'm not reading it for that. It's just that I think it sort of aligns with the discussion we were having on Friday with Roseanne, who was trying to sort of give a straight down the middle assessment of what was going on and the sentencing and the actions of Barrington that led to the death and the injury of two police officers, respectively. So I want to read this letter that I got. I will, again, keep the person's name anonymous. Try to keep what they do anonymous as well, but I may not be able to do that part. That might be difficult just because of the nature of this letter. So I want to read that in a little bit, so stay tuned for that. That's coming up. So let's get to your phone calls. Enough with the delay. Also, by the way, Donald Trump has released this statement, I think earlier at the top of the hour or the bottom of the hour, that they stated that there was no statement from the president. There has been. Donald Trump released a statement on Truth Social. He says, Iran has officially responded to our obliteration of their nuclear facilities with a very weak response, which we expected and have very effectively countered. There have been 14 missiles fired, 13 we knocked down, 1 we set free. Because it was headed in a non-threatening direction. I'm pleased to report that no Americans were harmed and hardly any damage was done. Most importantly, they've gotten it all out of their system, and they will hopefully be no further hate. I want to thank Iran for giving us early notice, which made it possible for no lives to be lost and nobody to be injured. Perhaps Iran can now proceed to peace and harmony in the region, and I will enthusiastically encourage Israel to do the same. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump. Sometimes I can't help but chuckle sometimes with the stuff that he writes and the way in which he writes it. So there we are. We'll get into this more and more, of course, and your phone calls. Let's get to those now, 860-522-WTIC. Hey, Mark in Windsor's back. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Reese. How are you?
I'm good, sir.
Hello to all the men and women listening out there. Hey, I'm thinking you still mad at me for sparring with your honey there, man.
No.
I'm like, man, this dude, he gonna have me on hold forever.
I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do that. But no. It was a feisty back and forth. Now listen. I know you're a guy, so I know you're a guy's guy. So. There's a little bit of that where you sort of like you're on the defensive of your wife, just going, she can handle herself. You don't want anybody getting the impression, hey, man, stick up for your wife. And at the same time, I'm going, hey, you don't put her in the crosshairs if she's not going to be able to deal with it. And she was absolutely fine. She loved the spirited back and forth. So don't take any offense in that. And you're a good guy. You're a good guy.
You're a good man too. You're a good husband. Cause that's exactly what I said to myself when I got off the phone. I said, look at Reese being a good husband, taking up for his woman.
So now, Mark, I know you've got some. I know you've got some at least an opinion to some degree on where we are on this. Or did you want to call about that, or did you want to talk about the transgender thing or Iran?
What's this?
Okay, well, we were talking about this case with the transgender, but that's not, if you're not calling for that, that's fine. Go ahead and opine on what you want to talk about.
I was calling for that.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was calling for that, but also I think President Donald J. Trump is one of the greatest presidents this country has ever had. The man is fantastic. He's, and I'm gonna move on.
Yeah, go for
it. Transgender thing.
Yeah.
The transgender thing. The Democrat Party is a demonic, homicidal, perverted organization. The transsexual is, if you look at the DSM-4, that's the psychological manual for psychology people, psychiatrist people, those people, and that's what they. And if you go back like 10 years, they've changed the definition.
I heard about that
of transsexual disorder. You know why? Because they wanted your insurance people that you would just so that they could get money for those surgeries.
And again, like that, that was the thing that I found so odd about this, Mark, was when I looked up, every place I researched says we have no definitive answer on the amount of money it costs to get this surgery done. However, they were able to find out that even with insurance, commercial insurance, as they referred to it, some parents have paid as high out of pocket $5,000 or more. And I'm going, these surgeries have got to be upwards of $20,000 at that rate. Maybe I'm wrong.
30.
Yeah, exactly.
30.
That's a lot of money.
You basically you're looking at like, what does a double mastectomy cost? That's what these are. And then to do the bottom part, and in the reverse.
Yeah.
What does a set of boobs cost for a woman that wants to get implants?
That's right.
That's all it is. This is all cosmetic surgery.
That's what it is.
And appealing to a mental health disorder. And for the purposes of just generating money into a group of demonic, psychotic, homicidal perverts, the Democrat Party. John, if you look at Oprah Winfrey covered this 30 years ago. There was a family from Canada.
That's right.
Okay.
I remember it. The two boys.
We talked about it. Yep. We talked about it on your show probably a year or two ago.
Yes, sir.
And the pervert that pioneered this mess is his name is John Money.
Yes.
The psychologist. He was a pervert and a child molester. This just like Ferguson and so many other things are built on a lie.
Yeah.
Are built on a lie and money.
It's
and it's really sad, and it hurts me to the core that our population is so easily duped. That is, and then if you look at how the Democrats have propped up these different groups, they took the homosexuals, the bisexuals, the transsexuals, and when you look at those and the lesbians, and when you look at the alphabet, then now they have a plus and a Q in there.
Yeah.
And you know what those are for? Those are for the child molesters.
Yeah, exactly. The minor attracted people, as they're referred to them.
California has downgraded the violation or a crime, downgraded the crime for pedophilia. They did that under Nancy Pelosi and Gavin Newsom. Democrats are a demonic group of people, yo. I grew up a Democrat. I was in all these special interest groups, Reese, and one day I just started asking why. Why?
Maybe you know what? I'll tell you this, Mark. I'll put any amount of money on it. Either one of two things took place. One, you either got older or you had kids.
Both. Both.
It's always the case. I just watched that audio of what is her name? Whitney Cummings. She was on Bill Maher's show talking about how she called herself a libtard, and then after she had a child, she went from protect the wolves, we're on wolves' land, to having a child by saying, can we turn them into coats and to earrings? That's her views immediately, like completely 180'd after she had a child. She immediately became conservative. She was like talking about buying a gun and protecting her baby from the wolves. And I think that's what it is. I think that's where we are. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you, buddy. Great talk.
Have a great one.
You got it. You too. Christine is in Middletown, and I always know that all I have to do is rattle this cage. She will join us. How are you?
Yeah, I was alerted to your subject. I do not advocate medically transitioning minor-aged children at all. And I don't like the term gender-affirming care, Reese.
Right.
It's not accurate.
I mean, isn't that gender-affirming care? I almost feel like that because, to gender-affirm is just somebody sitting here saying, yes, you're a girl or yes, you're a boy. I think that's, that is the extent that I would see that or view it. And I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that the purpose to sort of water it down by using that term?
Well,
even though behind the scenes, the term actually means mutilate?
I don't go down to mutilate, but here's the problem. Sexual dysphoria, or if you want to call it gender dysphoria, you need a mental health referrals with your family physician to see your endocrinologist.
Right.
We need to confirm that you have gender dysphoria. Instead of we have a lack of health, lack of gatekeeping, and we're affirming it. This is crazy.
Yeah, and in fact, as I read, one of these hospitals says you only need one referral.
Really? Because when I pursued a surgery, Reese, I needed two, and when I talked to the mental health professionals, they seemed puzzled that I was happy, gainfully employed. I was doing this out and about and happy with my life.
Right.
I think you have a low bar with people. But I'm going to say, though, my care I use Middlesex Health. I was an employee there. It's really helped. My suicide attempt was before I seen the doctor. So my life got better right after that. Yes, I will be on HRT to the day I die. But I've been properly confirmed with a diagnosis. And I know what's right and what's wrong. That's why I try to speak up about this stuff. And right now, Reese, my life has become a political football by both.
I know. You know what? Listen, I will tell you this, Christine, is probably one of the things that from the moment that I met you and conversed with you on so many occasions, I look at that. It's, how do I put it? It's so, talk about being at the center of one of the biggest controversies of the 21st century, being who you are in this. I know that people think that you're a traitor. The only other person I've seen that's dealt with the onslaught that you have, I guess personally, was when Caitlyn Jenner was on the Ellen DeGeneres show after Bruce had come out as Caitlyn and was on Ellen DeGeneres and refused to be an advocate for gay marriage and said, no, I think it's between a man and a woman and no one should get involved in that. And Ellen DeGeneres all but had a conniption on the air and thought, what are you, crazy? Like, your lifestyle should now promote you to advocacy for the cause. And she couldn't believe, Ellen for that matter, couldn't believe that Caitlyn didn't take the stance that was required of them. I was like, no, Caitlyn was saying that this is the choice for me. I don't speak for anybody else, and I don't advocate for anyone else. So you're in that unique position. Again, knowing somebody personally who's done that, I have to commend you because I'm glad I know you. To be honest with you, I'm glad I know you.
Likewise.
All right. Christine, thank you.
And by the way, happy 6th anniversary of your sobriety, Reese.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for saying that. And yeah, I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to sort of get into it, but I appreciate you saying it. I'm glad that anybody is who's out there, who's on the pathway and is on the road. I wish you all the best. And thank you so much, Christine. I appreciate you. We're going to take a break. We're going to get more phone calls. And of course, we'll talk about this letter that I received with regards to Richard Barrington. He is the young man who has just been sentenced to 30 years, 16 suspended sentence in the death of a police officer. Why am I forgetting his name? Garton, Bobby Garton, Detective Bobby Garton. He is finally sentenced on Friday. I got this letter from someone who appears to know Richard Barrington personally, and I want to address this letter when we return, plus your phone calls on any of the subjects we've talked about today. We got What Had Happened Was coming up soon as well, so don't go anywhere. We're just going to take a brief recess, and we'll get to weather, traffic, and the news. John Silva has got news. Jason Caterina with weather. It's a scorcher out there. Be careful. And Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center getting you home. Hey, Mark.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. And if you are making your way into downtown Hartford right now, look for delays on the westbound side of 84 East Hartford, approaching the Bothia Bridge out to 47 Certainty. 84 eastbound slowing about a half mile before 46 Sisson Avenue into the tunnel. 91 southbound, a brief slowdown at 33 Jennings Road. Northbound 91 losing a little speed as you approach exit 36 in Windsor. 291, 384 okay. 2 eastbound moving well into Glastonbury. 9 northbound slows approaching Harbor Park to the Aragoni Bridge. Waterbury 84 eastbound, a little slow between 16 and 17, again by 18. If you're westbound 84, look for delays 22 into the Mixmaster. 84 eastbound Cheshire, a little tight approaching the 691 interchange. We have a crash southbound Parkway in New Haven, just south of exit 59. You've got delays back to exit 60 behind that. 95 South New Haven slowing 44 down to 43 in West Haven. And today we remember our dear friend Mike Allen, who is our traffic reporter here at WTIC for 40 years, 38 of those years in WTIC's Air 1. And Mike is celebrating his first heavenly birthday today. We miss you, Mike. Traffic and weather together on the 8's WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
Partly sunny, very hot and humid today. Record-breaking temps, the high of 98. Partly cloudy, still warm and humid tonight. The low only down to 73. Another record-setting day Tuesday, very hot and humid with the high returning to 98. Wednesday, more record-breaking heat and humidity. Clouds and sun, an afternoon thunderstorm around that could produce flooding downpours and localized damaging wind gusts, the high of 97. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
There's a lot happening in Washington and in your local neighborhood. Follow WTIC News Talk 1080 on the Odyssey app to keep up with the latest. WTIC is celebrating 100 years on the air and 100 years of serving Connecticut. This is WTIC and WTIC FM HD2 Hartford, an Odyssey station.
5 o'clock, good afternoon. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News. Iran retaliated against the U.S. today for strikes over the weekend against its nuclear facilities. An update now from CBS News.
It targeted a massive U.S. base in Qatar. There were no casualties. Security contributor Sam Vinograd.
Scary moment, but this is exactly what security officials have been preparing for some time.
And the U.S. was given a heads up by Iran, but Olivia Gazas reports the region is on edge.
Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, none of those have given us the sort of all clear. And so it is still an open question as to what this is the extent of Iran's retaliatory strikes or if this is just the beginning of them.
There have been celebrations in Iran and chants of death to America. Analyst Nahid Simadoust.
They're banding together again. As much as they do not like their own government, they would like to have a more democratic government. This is worse than what they had, imagined doing to bring about those kinds of changes for their own country.
CBS News Special Report. I'm Cammie McCormick.
Back here, the intense heat expected to stick around through Wednesday. Until then, health experts are advising residents to guard against heat-related illness and other issues. Dr. Rebecca Andrews, the director of primary care at UConn Health, says it's easy to become dehydrated and not even know it.
Your body is going to kick into air conditioner mode, which means it is going to make you sweat to try to cool your blood and your skin surface to bring your body temperature down and keep it in a normal level to avoid heat stroke. That causes evaporation of some of the water that is in your body, which can then lead to dehydration.
She says it's best to avoid strenuous activity during these hottest parts of the day. Andrews also advises wearing light-colored, breathable clothing to help keep cool and check in frequently on older people who just to make sure that they're not overcome by the hot temperatures. Governor Lamont vetoes a couple of controversial bills passed in the 2025 legislative session. One, Senate Bill 8, that would have given striking workers, that is, unemployment pay after 14 days off the job.
I think I'm pro-jobs, and I want to watch out for any bill which I think discourages jobs in this state.
Also vetoing that housing bill, saying local cities and towns must take the lead, not the state.
Cost of housing, how zoning and the approval process and the permitting process can drive up the cost of housing
State police
in the amount of time it takes to get the job done.
State police charging a Brockton, Massachusetts man after they say he was clocked driving over 100 miles an hour on a stretch of Interstate 84 on Sunday. They say just after 1 p.m., troopers spotted the Chevy SUV in the right shoulder by westbound exit 44. That vehicle left the area, later spotted by another trooper driving 122 miles an hour in a 65-mile-an-hour zone by exit 37 in Farmington. Driver, 23-year-old Carlos Gallegos Lojas, showed signs of impairment at open alcohol containers, they say. He told them he stopped to drink a beer before he went on his way. Well, he now faces reckless driving, DUI, and other charges. He'll be in court next month. Mixed bag on the jobs front in Connecticut for the month of May. State Labor Department reports that while unemployment remains low at 3.8%, it did edge up 0.1 percentage point. In addition, Research Director Patrick Flaherty says payroll positions declined by 6,500.
Some of the slowdown is due to the large amount of rain this spring that has dampened both the leisure and hospitality and retail sectors, and perhaps other sectors of the economy as well.
April gains revised downward from 6,900 to 4,800. And what about taking a cold shower to beat this heat? Maybe not such a good idea, reports correspondent Christopher Cruz.
Adam Taylor is a professor of anatomy at Lancaster University in England. Writing in The Conversation, he says when you're hot, the brain sends signals to blood vessels near the skin, telling them to activate their cooling mechanisms. But when they're exposed to cold, blood vessels near the skin constrict, which reduces the blood flowing to the surface of your skin.
Second thought, you ought to take a cold shower.
That's the opposite of what you want to happen.
You in the heat pump.
Well, you ought to take cold showers. Christopher Cruz, CBS News.
Wall Street, the Dow up 374 points today. NASDAQ gained 183. S&P was up 57. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
Weight loss by Hers is not available everywhere. Actual price depends on product and plan purchase. To get started and learn more, including important safety information, clinical study information, and restrictions.
1 minute.
Everyone's talking about the breakthrough of weight loss medications, but too few can access or afford them. Hers is changing that by offering access to Wegovy GLP-1 treatment through their platform. 50% off retail price. Wegovy is FDA approved for weight loss and can help you lose up to 20% of your body weight when combined with diet and exercise. All dosages of Wegovy are offered at the same price and are eligible for FSA and HSA reimbursement. At forhers.com/radio, treatments are prescribed 100% online. A medical provider on their platform will determine if a weight loss plan is right for you, and if prescribed, your plan ships free directly to your door. By getting access to Wegovy through Hers, you get so much more than just medication. You'll get ongoing weight loss journey. See if Wegovy is right for you at forhers.com/radio. That's forhers.com/radio. FORHERS.com/radio.
The hour that packs a punch. It's Reese on the Radio on WTIC News Talk 1080.
All right, when we get back this hour, I got this letter about Richard Barrington. He is the young man responsible for the death of Detective Bobby Garden. This happened back in 2023. And apparently there are some details about Richard Barrington's life that this individual wants to talk about or make us aware of. I don't know what the purpose of this perspective is supposed to do, but they sent it to me. I thought it was worthy of going over. And so very soon, after we get weather and traffic, I'll read it so that you can, I don't know, maybe give me your opinions on it. Like I said, I read it, and it's really difficult to figure out what the intent of giving this information to me is. The individual listens to the show and felt compelled to share this with the audience in some way, as long as they remained anonymous. I will grant them that. But as you may remember, for those of you who tune in regularly, it was a very contentious debate, especially because of Roseanne's take on this about the age of Richard Barrington and his mistakes. And, of course, there were other people who were contesting the fact that he had a juvenile record where he had done the same thing and thought that his punishment should be far worse or far more harsh than it was. And, of course, we spoke to Bobby's brother, Will Garton, his older brother, as well at the show. Go back to WTIC.com or download the Odyssey app, and you can listen to that interview as well, because it's located there, as well as ReeseOnTheRadio.com. All right? We'll get to that when we return, and plus your phone call. So if you wish to. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Now let's get some more weather and traffic because it's a hot one out there. Jason Catarina has weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
All right, Reese, thank you very much. Well, westbound 84 tied up in East Hartford, approaching the Bulkley Bridge out to 45 Flatbush, 84 eastbound, slowing 46 Sisson Avenue down to the Bulkley. Looks real good now, both sides of 91, no problems. Cromwell up into Windsor Locks. 291 through 84, okay. 2 westbound's a little slow. 1D up to the 84 West Merge. 9 northbound slowing, approaching Harbor Park up to the Aragoni Bridge. If you're traveling 84 eastbound, delays 17 up to exit 18. Again, some slow traffic, 26 into the 691 interchange. Westbound 84 slowing in Waterbury, approaching the Mixmaster. 84 eastbound in Danbury, a little slow, 3 up to 5. Again, from 8 in Danbury up to exit 11 in Newtown. Southbound Parkway is heavy now. We have an accident just after exit 59 in New Haven. Delays are pushing back toward exit 61 in Hamden. Behind that, South 95 New Haven slowing 46 down to 43 in West Haven. Today we remember our late friend Mike Allen, who was our traffic reporter, of course, here at WTIC for 40 of the 100 years we were on the air, 38 of those years in WTIC's Air One. Today is Mike's first birthday in heaven. We miss you, Mike. Traffic and weather together on the 8's WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
Well, the extreme heat warning remains in effect until 8 p.m. tomorrow evening, with feels like temperatures near or at 110 degrees at times, and that's where it is currently in Hartford. So please be very careful out there. Make sure you stay well hydrated. Check up on your elderly neighbors, anybody that doesn't have air conditioning. You can always head to the library or the mall to get some free air conditioning while they're open. Just be very, very cautious out there. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight. Little relief from the heat. The low only down to 73. Heating up very quickly again for Tuesday. Record-breaking temperatures, hot and humid. The high up to 98. Mainly clear, very warm Tuesday night. So again, little relief from the heat. The low only down to 78 Tuesday night. More record-breaking temperatures on Wednesday. Hot and humid, a thunderstorm in spots for the afternoon. Some of those could produce flooding downpours and localized damaging wind gusts. A high of 97. Then some mercy for us for the end of the week. Cloudy and turning cooler Thursday, but humid. A thunderstorm around the high, only 79. Cloudy, a brief shower or two on Friday. Pleasant temps, though, a high of 75. As I was mentioning, temperatures are extremely hot right now. 93 in Mansfield. Nice breeze off the water in New London, though, at 79. New Haven, 90. Same for Bridgeport. It's 95 in Hartford with a 77-degree dew point, which is obscene. That puts the heat index at 110 degrees, what it feels like right now in Hartford. I'm meteorologist Jason Catarina in the WTIC Weather Center.
Traffic is brought to you by the Heyman Law Firm.
If you or a loved one has been the victim of medical malpractice, know that you are not alone. Call 1-800-HEYMAN and they will get you the answers and advice you deserve. Attorney John Heyman is your legal authority in medical malpractice. Call 1-800-HEYMAN.
Dreaming of a perfect smile? At Columbia Dental, our orthodontic experts specialize in braces and clear aligners like Invisalign. Get the smile you've always dreamed of. Open 7 days a week. Call 860-645-0111 or visit columbiadental.com.
Is thinning hair or receding hairline making you self-conscious? Stop feeling embarrassed about your thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or in stores at your local CVS.
Find what you love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines. Walk right through the door. It's all here to explore. With guides in the know and prices so low, it just might blow your mind. You're gonna find what you love and love what you find.
Drink responsibly, B21.
Ugh, I gotta get business cards printed for my entire staff, but where do I even?
That was easy.
Oh, okay, Staples. But can I have bigger stuff printed too, like huge signs and banners?
That was easy.
Nice. And what if I had to ship a package?
That was easy.
Have my passport photo taken?
That was easy.
Coffee and snacks?
That was easy.
What about the latest laptops?
That was
Earbuds
easy.
and headphones?
That was
Office
easy.
chairs?
That was easy.
I think I also need to get some Staples.
Seriously?
I had to ask.
For everything your business needs to get the job done.
Staples. That was easy.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO.
1 minute.
No, we're not
Yes,
one of
sir.
the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
When it comes to DSPs, usability matters. Some platforms bury you in complexity. Results-driven advertising shouldn't look like a chemistry experiment. Viant's AI-powered DSP streamlines setup, automates measurement and optimization, and keeps you in control. Less clicking, more strategy. And with proven CTV leadership across premium publishers, Viant works smarter and delivers stronger. Trading on a desk. Visit Viant.ai to unlock real results today.
Reese on the Radio is getting ready to drop some knowledge on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Drop it.
Yeah, let's get these phone calls in and out of the way so I can read this letter. Mike is in Plainville. How are you, sir?
I'll tell you what, this mutilation is so sinister. It reminds me of the movie with Mark Wahlberg. There was pollen or some type of spores in the air, and people just started doing crazy stuff out in the streets.
Why am I forgetting the name of that movie as you talk about it? It was
Roland would know.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Roland will know what.
Yeah, Roland, do you know what movie that was? M. Night Shyamalan?
Well, what are you talking about?
With Mark Wahlberg, it was all about honeybees that were extinct, and like everybody started weirding out. Somebody's going to tell me in the chat room. They'll remember what Rama's definitely going to know.
The Happening?
I wanted to.
I can't. I
You
don't
know what?
Maybe it was The Happening. It's quite possible. I can't remember the name of it.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, when people was killing themselves, right?
Yes.
Yeah, The Happening.
Okay. Because this military mission was above top secret. You can't tell. You can't. Did John Larson and all these other crybabies? You know what? Well, you can't be trusted. It's sensitive information.
Isn't that so crazy? That the people like guys like Adam Schiff, habitual leaker, is upset that we didn't give that to him.
No, that you can't trust any of them. That's he. And I'll tell you what, we have intelligence assets in every country on the globe.
Yeah.
So the information, the data had to be spot on for him to do this. He didn't just do this on a whim. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
anybody that knows anything about the military would know that. And I wanted to make a comment. I don't know why you're going to read this letter from the anonymous source, but what good is it going to do?
I don't know, but like I said, I think there's an underlying story to this. Let me read it, though. I'll read it, and then you can make your assessment thereafter. Because, like I said, I don't know what to make of the letter either. And when I read it, it was one of those things where I'm like, I'm reading the letter because I want to know what people get from it, because I couldn't make heads or tails of it. That's all.
Can I ask you a question? Is
Sure.
it Looking for sympathy?
I don't know. That's the part I'm having difficulty with, and that's why I have to read it. So I'll read it, and you know what, Mike? Give me a call tomorrow. Promise me you'll give me a call tomorrow after I've read it and tell me what you think. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You got it, boss man. I appreciate you. White Mike is calling from Florida. I got to go quick because I got to read this letter. What do you got for me today?
Oh, man. So the young man who called a couple callers ago, I think his name was Mark. He was talking about stats and perversion.
Yes.
Buddy, he is so close to figuring it out. He is tipping the precipice of figuring it out. What I tell that young man, Mark, I think he's really close, but he needs to Google Weimar Germany.
Yeah.
And note the comparisons between Weimar Germany and today. The exact same perversion is happening, being pushed by the same people.
Yeah, you talked about that at length. I remember a couple of years ago, you and I had that discussion about.
It is exactly the same. All this transgender stuff started during Weimar Germany. There's a Dr. Hirschfeld who had the very first gender clinic in Germany, and they were perversion and pedophilia and all this. But I have a problem with people saying whatever an adult wants to do to themselves, they can do when it comes to transgender surgery, because a lot of these are mentally ill people being taken advantage of by unscrupulous practitioners.
Fair enough.
And I put tattooing in the same exact category.
Okay.
You see these people that are all tatted up and their whole faces are tatted and all that?
I will tell you this, that that is something I've noticed in ways like it's not even, when I was growing up, a tattoo was always strategically placed. You know, maybe on the arm, like on the on the bicep, something along that line, maybe the shoulder. But nowadays they are in the most ridiculous parts on the body and just completely out of place. I think that's just it's abnormal.
I'm a veteran and a man, so I have tattoos. But I remember when I got my last one, the tattoo parlor had a sign that said, "No hands, no faces."
Wow.
There used to be a code for these people. They wouldn't do anything that would ruin your life. And nowadays, these tattoo artists are mutilating mentally ill people. I'm of the belief it's time to get some kind of control on these people, because you shouldn't be allowed to take advantage of a crazy person and ruin their life, be it by tattooing their face or turning their wiener into a banana split. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know that there's a slippery slope with that, which again would end up being a much bigger discussion. But you know what? I will tell you, you always tend to just come across you're what I call the Tokyo drift of conversation, because you edge right to that point where it almost seems like we're almost teetering into people's personal preferences that is almost against freedom. But I don't say that without somewhat agreeing with you that something must be done.
Well, look, I work in healthcare. I work in dentistry, okay?
Right.
And if someone comes in with a mouthful of healthy teeth and says, "I don't want these teeth anymore, extract them, give me false teeth," you literally can't do it as a medical professional.
Right.
You can't, because it falls into that "thou shalt do no harm."
That's right.
So how these plastic surgeons are allowed to jack people up like they do, and not just the transgender stuff, but you've seen these people with the weird faces and the noses that fall off and all this stuff.
Yeah, people who are actually self-mutilating. Not self-mutilating. They're what do they call it? They're disfiguring themselves, like removing arms or legs to become disabled.
And how can they do that? Like a surgeon, like if you go to a surgeon and say, "This hand's not mine, cut it off," he can't do it.
Right.
But you can go to a plastic surgeon and say, "I want you to make my nose look like freaking Peter Pan where I can't breathe. I want you to jack my lips up. It looks like I sucked on a hot tailpipe. And I want you to give me giant boobies that I can't move my arms." And some surgeon could do that because the patient wants it. It literally makes no sense.
Yeah. And if it does lend itself to the theory that, they're in it for profit, and what won't they do, for said profit?
They're taking advantage of mentally ill people with body dysmorphic disorder.
Yeah.
And most transgenders, by the way, your caller who called in may be happy, but the vast majority of transgenders are men who suffer from autogynephilia. They have a sexual turn on by imagining themselves as a woman. It's mental illness. It should not be treated surgically. It should be treated with electric shock therapy.
That's a bit extreme. To some degree.
And lobotomies.
All right. We'll leave it at that. God bless you. As always, White Mike, always just scraping the surface of controversy. I'm sure I'll get phone calls. And again, all wanted and warranted at 860-522-WTIC. Let me read this real quick. Mr. Reese, I'm writing to you in confidence. Today, listening to the show, there were some comments about the tragic death of Detective Bobby Garton due to Richard Barrington's negligence and stupidity. Folks were commenting on how Barrington's parents failed and should have done more. What I'm about to disclose is an absolute trust that I not be identified. You'll understand why, they say. This individual has worked in some capacity, apparently, with what's called the Job Corps, Hartford Job Corps. They don't want to engage with the public on this, but anyway, they worked with, I guess, as you know, Job Corps is for at-risk teams, right? Teens in the area and across the country. People have taken shots at Job Corps, which he states in this, or she states in this letter. And they're talking about respecting their wishes not to convey who they are. Okay, so here's what they lay out. Fact, Richard Barrington's family essentially forced him to go to the Hartford Job Corps as a last resort. He was not part of the community there that long. He feared for his life walking to campus, which was only about a mile away. Apparently, there are small gangs which are part of a larger network controlling areas block by block in some parts of Hartford, and many of these kids have loose affiliations with one side or another. Barrington refused to become a residential student. This person knows this because they did a fact-finding board as the student had required 5 negative infractions within a 60-day period. These 5 infractions are directly related to the bad press for the Job Corps because incidents or infractions as they are known on the campus are rarely criminal. In this case, 5 write-ups for being AWOL or not present for duty at the beginning of the school. They referred to that as a work day for the students. Anyway, Barrington refused any recommendation to become a residential student, and he was terminated from Job Corps. This termination occurred 2 or 3 days prior to the incident with Hartford police. During the fact-finding board, his mother was called. His mother begged and pleaded for Richard to stay and earn his GED, and he refused. I'm not exactly sure why, but I'm again, because he refused, I think what I'm getting from this, because there's so much other stuff that I can't read because then I would be disclosing the person who wrote it. So they're sort of giving a summation of what happened here. So the only thing I could take from this letter is that he had an opportunity and he squandered it. Whatever the reasons may have been, he chose poorly. I don't think there's any other way to look at this. He had an opportunity. His mother begged him. He said no. He understood the risks. Maybe he didn't want to get a GED. Maybe he didn't think he could get a GED. Whatever those cases may have been. But he is where he is because of those poor choices. The only thing I can say that I learned from this letter and from what we learned in talking about this is that Barrington always makes bad choices. And there had to be consequences for them. Even when he was right on the brink of saving his own life, he chose the other way. His mother begged him, get a GED. Job Corps begged him, become a residential student. He refused. On the day he was pulled over, instead of taking his ticket or being arrested, being fined, whatever the case may have been, doing some time, he fled. And he took the life of Detective Bobby Garton and injured his partner. All of those choices. And I can see where some people are saying that he deserved more time. Because again, you can take his entire life of making decisions, poor ones, and then lump sum that into how he should have been charged. It's like you look at all of those decisions and all of those things then lead up to the incident that takes a human life. And as my mother would say back in the days, she would say when she used to beat us with a switch or whatever else she could get her hands on, my mom used to say, I'm going to beat you for old and new. What she meant by that was whatever she forgot to punish you about, she beat you for that one too. And I think there's a little bit of that going on in this whole case with Barrington. Justified? I take a little issue with that, but I get it. That's all I'm saying. So if you want to opine about it, please do. 860-522-WTIC, 860-522-9842. Let's get another check of our weather, traffic, and, of course, the bottom of the hour news with John Silva. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
All right, Reese, thank you. On this hot Monday afternoon, westbound 84, some slow traffic approaching the Bulkley Bridge in East Hartford to 47 Sigourney. 84 eastbound slowing, approaching 46 into the tunnel. Southbound 91, just a brief slowdown, 32 A and B. Looks real good. 91 north, Cromwell up into Windsor Locks. 291 through 84, okay. 2 westbound slowing, 1D up to the 84 west merge. 9 northbound tight, Harbor Park to the Aragoni Bridge in Middletown. 84 eastbound slowing in Waterbury, 17 to 18. On the eastbound side of 84 in Cheshire, a little slow getting by exit 26. Westbound 84 Waterbury slowing, approaching the Mixmaster. 84 eastbound in Danbury delays 8 up to 11 in Newtown. Southbound Parkway a little slowed by exit 60 in Hamden. 95 South New Haven slows 46 down to 43 in West Haven. Today we remember our late friend Mike Allen, traffic reporter here for 40 years, 38 of those years up in WTIC 01. Mike's first heavenly birthday is today. And Mike, we do miss you very much. Traffic and weather together on the 8 WTIC News Talk 1080.
WTIC weather.
A record-breaking Monday afternoon, very hot and humid, one of the hottest days of the year so far, the high of 98. Partly cloudy, remaining warm and humid tonight, the low only down to 73, so very little heat relief. And as we head into Tuesday, mostly sunny, another record-setting day, very hot and humid with the high returning to 98. Wednesday, more record-breaking temperatures, another very hot and humid day with a mix of clouds and sun. A thunderstorm around in the afternoon. It could produce flooding downpours and localized damaging wind gusts. The high still 97 for us on Wednesday. Now, some relief as we head toward Thursday. Cloudy, turning cooler, but still humid with a thunderstorm, the high of 79. Then a brief shower or two on Friday morning. Otherwise, cloudy and pleasant temps, the high only 75 for a change. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
And now, a WTIC news update.
96 degrees at 5:30. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News. Iran has retaliated against the U.S. for its strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities on Saturday. It launched a series of short and medium-range missiles at a massive American airbase in Qatar. No injuries reported. Sam Vinograd is a CBS News security contributor.
Iran has a long history of attacking U.S. military facilities in the region, so to a certain extent, we expected this moment. The unknown question at this time is whether this is it, or if Iran is planning to escalate further.
You heard from the Weather Center just a bit ago. Extreme heat warning will be with us through tomorrow. The very hot conditions through at least Wednesday. Medical experts like Dr. Rebecca Andrews at UConn Health advising everyone to take precautions, particularly the young and the older folks, also to guard against dehydration and try to limit strenuous activity to the earlier parts of the day or later on in the evening. Man facing reckless driving and DUI charges after state police say he was clocked doing over 100 miles an hour on I-84 on Sunday. Carlos Gallegos Loja charged with DUI after he flunked a field sobriety test. State police say he was driving 122 in a 65-mile-an-hour zone in Farmington on I-84 Sunday. And Governor Lamont vetoing a couple of bills. One is that housing bill that's generated a lot of controversy. The other has to do with pay for workers who have been on strike for 2 weeks or more. Wall Street, the Dow up 374 points today. The Nasdaq gained 183, and the S&P was up 57. Red Sox and Angels from the Big A tonight, 8:38, the pregame here on TIC. Yanks start a series with the Reds in Cincinnati, and the Mets will try to right the ship when they host the Braves. Eastern League, the Yard Goats idle this Monday. They'll begin a series against New Hampshire on Tuesday. For these stories and more, go to WTIC.com. I'm John Silva, WTIC 1080 News.
If you're trying to get through your daily activities and you're noticing you can't because you're focusing more on your pain than being able to enjoy the moment, those are the patients that we're looking to treat because we can make a difference.
That's Dr. Ashley Caravelli, a medical director for QC Kinetics.
What we're doing at QC Kinetics is offering treatments that help with joint preservation. We use cutting-edge technology in our in-house lab to harness your body's natural natural healing powers and target the areas where you need them the most.
These are regenerative, non-surgical treatments, and QC Kinetics is the nation's leader, delivering lasting relief to tens of thousands of patients.
What we do know is that the sooner we start treatment, the sooner you'll see relief.
So don't wait another minute. See if you're a good candidate for these non-surgical treatments for joint pain. The consultation is completely free.
Call QC Kinetics, 860-440-PAIN. That's 860-440-PAIN. 860-440-PAIN.
Here's a few questions for you. California Psychics. Do your workdays seem to go on forever? Is your career progression as fast as downtown traffic? Or does your boss still not know your name?
Hey, you, Tina, Lisa, Sheila, whatever. Get that report to me by lunch, okay? It's Carrie, ma'am. Just get it done, Terry.
It's time to read the career warning signs and talk to California Psychics. We're always on hand to give you the career guidance you need. You see, we only connect you with the very best. In fact, 98% of the psychics who apply to work with us don't make the grade. That's why we can guarantee if your reading isn't life-changing, it's free. So you could soon be telling your boss where to stick that report.
Where are you going, Terry? Terry!
Experience the joy of certainty. California Psychics. Call 1-800-PREDICT today and get 20 minutes for just $20.
The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed from WTIC News Talk 1080. Download the free Odyssey app, search WTIC News Talk 1080, and tap earlier today to get started.
I still don't know what had happened was.
What had happened was.
That's right. It's time for What Had Happened Was on News Talk 1080.
What had happened was.
Anyway, so what had happened was I started the show, if you're joining us late, and you were inside your office with the opening monologue talking about where do you stand on Iran. And a lot of people, as we saw over the weekend, making protests, standing with Iran, all of this. Trump, get your hands off Iran. Trump's a war criminal. It's no war, whatever. But I was making the case earlier today that the people who are really upset are really just upset because Donald Trump caught them flat-footed. And they were paying more attention to people like Tucker Carlson, Steve Bannon, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, and their opposition to Donald Trump going to war with Iran, concerned with whether or not he would get involved in the conflict. And in paying attention to all of that, obsessing about it, some people even going online, posting the term taco, which stands for Trump always chickens out, and then throwing them for a loop and bombing on Saturday when no one expected it. It was like waking up from a dream and going, what? And that's all the anger was about, that they had to scramble on their position on it. And that's the reason why, if you look at Democrats or people on the left, people who usually can't stand Donald Trump, who have said everything they could, are now all of a sudden fans of his. Did you know Mike Pence said glowing things about Donald Trump? Joe Scarborough of The Morning Joke is now saying that Trump did a good thing, and he hearkened it to something that Hillary Clinton would have done as Secretary of State. Yeah, exactly. So all you're seeing is confusion by the usual suspects. But if you want to listen to the monologue, make sure you go to WTIC.com or, as the aforementioned ad said, download the Odyssey app so you can get this show and others at your leisure. Whenever you want to, while you're driving, you can listen to it. Just download the Odyssey app there. Some people are in the chat room talking about the letter I read related to someone who knows Richard Barrington, I guess, personally. Richard says, you can only lead a horse to water. Maybe he'll earn his GED in the slammer, which I thought was cold, but it's true. And he also says life is full of choices. He chose poorly. That he did. Susan in the chat room says he could have gone the straight and narrow, but he chose the wrong way. Yes, in every one of his choices, he chose poorly. On purpose. He was not persuaded to make bad choices. He took them on his own, as he did. So that's where we are. So sad, but it's true. We'll get to your phone calls when we return, and we'll wrap this puppy up this Monday. So stand by, stay cool. Jason Caterina's got weather, and Mark Christopher's got your traffic getting home at 5:38. He's in the BPS Traffic Center. Hey, Mark.
All right, Reese, thank you very much. Well, good afternoon to you and to everyone. And if you're heading into Hartford right now in the westbound side of 84, just some slow traffic as you move up on the Bulkley Bridge into downtown Hartford right now, into the tunnel. If you're traveling 84 eastbound, slightly slow, 46 to 48 Capitol Avenue. Both sides of 91 speed limit, Cromwell up into Winter Locks. 291 through 84 looking real good. 2 westbound slowing, 1D up to the 84 west merge. Middletown 9 northbound, typically slow, Harbor Park to the Aragoni. If you're traveling 84 westbound into Waterbury, a little slow at the Mixmaster. 84 eastbound, some slow traffic, 17 to 18 in Waterbury. 84 eastbound in Danbury, delays from 8 up to 11 in Newtown. South 95, New Haven slows 46 to 43. In West Haven, southbound Parkway a little slow as you approach and get through the West Rock Tunnel down to exit 59 in New Haven. Traffic and weather together on the 8's WTIC News Talk 1080.
Brought to you by Amazon.
This Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th, you can get a great deal on a new foot spa, transforming you into the queen of kicking it.
Wait, this has bubble jets. Okay.
Shop great deals this Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th.
WTIC weather.
Oh, it remains dangerously hot for us as we head into the evening. We've got an extreme heat warning in effect until 8 p.m. tomorrow evening with the real field temperature, the heat index near or at 110 at times. Please stay very well hydrated. Nice, free, easy way to stay cool. Take a towel, wet it down with cold water, and just drape it over your neck and back. And then you can squeeze it out and rinse and repeat when it starts to warm up too much. Please be very careful out there. Partly cloudy, warm and humid tonight. The low only down to 73. Record-breaking temperatures the next 2 straight days. Tuesday, hot and humid. The high back up to 98 again. That heat index could be close to or hitting 110. Tomorrow night, mainly clear, still very warm and humid. The low only down to 78. Record-breaking temps again on Wednesday, like I said. Hot and humid, of course, clouds and sun, a thunderstorm in spots for the afternoon. Some of those could be packing a wallop with some flooding, downpours, and localized damaging wind gusts. The high 97 Wednesday. Respite, though, the second half of the week. Thursday, cloudy, turning cooler, humid, still a thunderstorm around the high of 79. Friday, cloudy, a brief shower or two. Pleasant temps, though, the high of 75 for us. 95 Danbury right now, 90 in Bridgeport. The wind has shifted a little bit and it warmed up in New London up to 81. The heat's back on in Hartford up to 99 with near 110 heat index right now. Be careful out there and stay hydrated. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina in the WTIC Weather Center.
Join us this Sunday for Tumalo Financial, your go-to for retirement planning and taxes. Tune in to the father-son duo from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. or catch replay from 5 to 6 p.m. Tumalo Financial, retirement planning with integrity on WTIC News Talk 1080.
Protect your liver and give it the support that it deserves by making Active Liver from New Nordic part of your daily wellness routine. Find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS, Meijer Grocery, or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Another checkup? Why are so many people getting new puppies? Dr. Kim's veterinary office is littered with cuteness. We are booked solid for weeks, but who can say no to a puppy, right? Oh, who's your good boy? Oh, who's what?
She needs to find extra vet techs to get those pups some extra love.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, candidates can find it easier, so you can hire easier. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, listen to this. All I needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Life insurance. Why are you putting...
afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for
Yes,
putting
sir.
off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at ethos.com/radio. That's ethos.com/radio.
Summer's coolest mattress deals are going on now at Ashley's Stars and Stripes sale. This summer, save up to $1,000 on select mattresses. And say goodbye to hot sleep and save up to $500 on the best-selling Tempur-Breeze collection. Plus, feel the freedom to snooze now and pay later with 0% interest until 2030 on purchases made with your Ashley Advantage Synchrony credit card. Better sleep starts at Ashley. Subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. See store for details.
What's up, everybody? You know who it is.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
It's Reese on the Radio. Frederick Douglass of the 21st century.
It's WTIC News Talk 1080.
Thank you all for joining me today on this Monday. It was fantastic. The weekend was interesting. I bought some new T-shirts, which is pretty much the only thing I do on the weekend is I go to different places and I find T-shirts so I can wear them. I'm actually going to count my T-shirts today, and I'm supposed to cycle them, get rid of some. Also, if you ever saw my studio in here, I'm trying to make every place on the wall covered with a baseball cap because that has always been my favorite headwear. I've always loved baseball caps since I was a kid because I couldn't afford them as a child. I thought growing up watching kids in films and on television shows, every kid had a baseball cap to throw on. And I just wanted to be, again, what kid doesn't want to be normal? So I fell in love with baseball caps, all types. Even those trucker hats. I was a big fan of those when they came out. Whoever, even thought of those things as being cool, good on you. Because I have several of those as well. Baseball caps, as far as for baseball teams, I try not to do like a whole bunch of teams. Like there are teams I would never wear. I wear the Washington Nationals because, I lived in the D.C. area. I, wore those hats because that was a team I supported when they went to the World Series. Of course, the Bo Sox, forget about it. In fact, I still tell people who refer to the White Sox as the Sox, I all but threaten them. It's only one Sox, my friend, and it ain't the white ones. Actually, my blacktivist will be happy to know that there's a white thing that I don't support. The White Sox. See? Don't you feel better now? Sorry. That's personal. Anyway, but yeah, baseball caps or baseball hats, that's my thing. So I'm trying to line the walls with nothing but them. So trying to do that. Here's somebody who hasn't called in a while. 860-522-9842. Texas Terry, or as I like to call him, Commentary, is on the line. Where you been, buddy?
Oh, man, it's been I know you ain't got a whole lot of time, so I'll spare you all the details, man. But, sometimes you got to step away, got to reorganize. Speaking of mental health, you know what I mean, and just kind of, let the world do what the world does and mind your own business.
You were, and I remember you talking to me maybe like 2 weeks ago when I did hear from you. I think I sent you a message on X because I hadn't heard from you in a while. And your response to me in your absence was somewhat, you needed a mental health month or year or something to that effect. You were just trying to get away from politics.
Yeah, I just hate it, man, because I feel like, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, yeah, we can vote and stuff. We can gripe and call radio shows or send letters, whatever the case may be, stand outside with a sign. But at the end of the day, man, it's really like we're just watching our parents fight, and we're the kids. We can't do nothing about it. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it. It's my job, though.
No, I get that. I 100% get that. And I always enjoy your show, man. I think you're one of the best of what you do. Speaking of that, man, congratulations, because it sounds like you're the dude now, and well-deserved. I've been waiting, so that's what's up.
Thank you, sir. And I'm so glad to have you back, man. Don't take too long of a mental health break. But, even if you don't call in, Terry, please give me a holler, say what's up, just so I know you're okay out there. You're doing a whole bunch of stuff. You still doing the comedy thing?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm fixing to go on Wednesday and got back to writing. And, like I said, it's a bit of a long story, but I basically started out the year, and it was BS. There was nothing. I was just making too much money, and they didn't have enough work for me. But I started out the year by getting fired.
Wow.
And by also, I think I had the bird. I don't know what I had. I know I was in bed for about 2 months straight, and I watched Jerry Seinfeld probably every season or every episode at least twice.
Wow.
Yeah, miserable. I was out of work for like 3 months, man. It's the longest I can remember being out of work since I was 18.
Wow. So it just gave you an opportunity to sort of to gather your thoughts and get your mind right, as we say.
I spent a lot of time with God in that time. Yeah, for sure. 100%. I feel like I came out of all that differently. You know what I mean?
I hear
more
that.
Purpose.
I hear that, and I totally celebrate it with you, my friend. Celebrate it with you. Terry, always stay in touch, man, even if it's not even through here on WTIC.
Hey, yes, sir. Hey, I did want to comment on that letter, if you got a sec.
Yeah, please, go for it.
Yeah, so what I heard was, and isn't this kind of like a story old as time, regardless of race, but more particularly in the black community where, we're trying to get the kid on the right track, but, the outside influences, and maybe there's a father there, maybe there's not a father. That goes for white people, too.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I had a father in my house. He didn't show me nothing.
Right.
But I loved him. I grew up to be a man and loved him and appreciated him, but he wasn't that dude. But either way, it really sounded more to me like whoever wrote that letter was trying to say, hey, look, man, the mom did all she could. Don't blame the parents. You know what I mean? Like trying to clean it up for them a little bit. But, at the end of the day, man, I just think, everybody needs guidance, regardless of race, creed, or color. But, and I'll leave you with this. I saw this the other day, and I wasn't looking for it. It's just something that I saw. I happened to pass through the east side of Lubbock, which, that tends to be the black side of the city.
Sure.
And I stopped at a 7-Eleven, and, I noticed that there were probably about 30 dudes out there. This 8 o'clock in the morning, 30 dudes,
Wow.
not middle-aged dudes, but, 20 to 30 years old. Some dudes are, a little bit less than 20, but they're just hanging out there, posted up, not doing nothing. And you know what I'm saying? I'm from Buffalo, New York, so I grew up around a lot of different types of people, man. I got a lot of different friends in a lot of different major cities, so I'm not that dude. Everybody can spare me the racist nonsense, because that ain't it. But the thing is, 5 minutes up the road, that's how quick the scene changed. I stopped at another store because I didn't have what I wanted at the first store. There's a different store in a little bit more of a rural area, but not much. We're only 5 minutes outside of the city. And I'm looking around, man, there's Hispanic dudes out there. There's white dudes out there. Everybody's, running around and loading up their trucks or getting gas or getting their breakfast or putting gas, whatever the case may be. And I just what a stark contrast.
Yeah.
In only a few blocks, and just like I do, you go to the east side of any city, it's going to look a lot worse than most of the other areas in that city.
It's
It's
evident.
what it is.
It's so evident, and it's like, it's funny because you talking about those guys who were sitting outside of the store. I saw that, when I first got to San Antonio, it was something I was seeing, the same thing I was seeing in Brooklyn, in New York, in Texas. Right. But the only difference was, it was the same type of people with the same issues, be it drugs, be it, either dealing or hard times. The only difference was that the races were different, but their hard times were similar. All you had to do was replace those individuals with color. And it's just, again, we're talking about places like Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and places like, San Antonio, the south side of San Antonio, Texas. Both of those guys, you could have interchanged their stories as to why they were in the predicament they were in. So it takes all kinds. It has everything to do with how you were brought up and the choices that you make.
And what you see, the reflection, you know what I mean? Like if you see your dad, my stepdaughter ran it. My boys, they grew up with their mom, but they were luckily fortunate. She met a good dude and everything worked out.
Yeah.
But, my stepdaughter, she sees me getting up 7, 8 o'clock. You know what I mean? I'm out the door and I'm not home till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? But she also sees, when we go to the mall or when we go here, we go that. Don't get me wrong, I'm not balling, but I don't start, I'm not checking the prices on the crackers and all that when I go to the supermarket. You know what I'm saying? I try to work hard. So I instill it in her. If you want to guarantee yourself poverty, do two things for me. drop out of high school and have a baby with some idiot that's just trying to put handcuffs on you for the rest of your life, and you will be poor. You
That's
know what I
right.
mean? You can pretty much just set it in stone, but she understands and she knows that, these kids need a work ethic. They need some hope and somebody to tell them, hey, man, you ain't got to be. Even when I was a kid, I felt like I had to be a doctor or a lawyer or something to do it. I'll probably never be a millionaire, but I make a good living and an honest wage of being an
That's
HVAC
all you
tech.
need.
And I stumbled into it. You know what I mean? But these kids need to know you can use your hands and your mind. You ain't got to be a neuroscientist to make a little paper and provide for your family.
That's it. Thank you, Terry, as always, man. We miss you, buddy.
Sir.
You got it. You got it. Let's take our last but not least. Brian's in Portland. How are you, Brian?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Pretty good, sir. What do you got for me today?
I've got a rest in peace, Mr. Mike Allen.
Yes.
I've called this station a lot because of the excellent traffic that WTIC has had, probably will continue. Mike Allen was a heck of an addition to help people navigate around here. I'm sure a lot of your listeners remember when Mark had spoken about him being his birthday today.
Yes.
That hit me hard. Just wanted to say to Mr. Mike Allen, rest in peace. Thank you for taking the call.
You appreciate you, Brian. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity on the show.
You do good, sir. You got a great platform.
Thank you.
Do good.
Use
your powers for good.
Yes,
Please.
I love that. Absolutely. Laura would commend you on saying that. That's exactly what she told me when I was in my 20s. Use your powers for good. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you, sir.
Good night.
You got it. Yeah. Use your powers for good. Laura used to say to me all the time when we dated. I love that line. I love that line. Anyway, so that's it for today. Tomorrow, let me headline one of the stories that I'm following. Harvard hired a researcher to uncover its ties to slavery, reads the Guardian article. He says the results cost him his job. He says, quote, "We found too many slaves." I posted it on my Facebook page. If you want to check it out, go there. You got to go to reeseontheradio.com. That's REESE on the radio.com. The article is posted there, and you can read it. Another story we're following is less burnouts, more babies, how conservatives are winning young women. You might remember in the last election, overwhelmingly, college-educated women went for Kamala Harris, as they did for Joe Biden. But the tide is turning. As many more of those women either are becoming married or having children. And there's an article in the New York Times talking about that. I think it's supposed to be a, what's the way that I can put it? Sort of like a cautionary tale by the New York Times concerned with women becoming more conservative. I've never understood that argument or what the beef is about women becoming more conservative. I think that a woman can become more conservative and still be pro-choice because I thought that was the signature issue for women, aside from equal pay. But I think have they abandoned that argument, the whole equal pay argument? I feel like some women are talking about that, but not as much as they used to. It used to be really, really. I guess now because they're paying more attention to who can be a woman as opposed to equal pay for. You know what I'm actually interested in? Maybe we should find this out. Whether or not there is a wealth or wage disparity between biological women and transgender women. I wonder if there's any difference in that. Has anybody got any interest in that? Because that would be an interesting study, right? Because technically, you have a woman, but you don't have to worry about pregnancy. Just saying. You just don't. In that view. And then also, you know what? Then it would lead into a study with transgender men and biological men. And maybe we can then look at the disparity in that, in that wage difference. I don't know. I'm just saying. Why not? It's worth it. Let's see if we can get a grant for that. I don't think they're handing them out like candy like they used to. If this were the Biden administration, oh, hell, we'd make a fortune. Roland and I, we'd be raking in the dough, without a doubt.
I wouldn't have any parts of that.
I would have that 185,000 Class A, what do you call it, RV that my wife is angling for. I get that in a heartbeat. It's time to get up out of here. As I always say, radio is free, so we thank you for paying attention. Remember to keep JC in your hearts and in your mind. Sean Patrick, we love you and we miss you. Remember that panic is not planning, so plan your work and work your plan. Me, I'm Reese on the Radio. You have a good night. Pleasant tomorrow. We'll see you back here at 2 p.m. on Tuesday. Jason Caterina's got weather and Mark Christopher is in the BPS Traffic Center. Did you hear that caller?
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, the station's been on for 100 years. Mike was here for 40 of them.
Wow.
It was an amazing run. He flew the airplane for 38 out of those 40 years. I saw him a year ago at his stepson's wedding. The guy looked like $1 million.
I remember you saying that.
6 months later, Mike passed. But today is his first heavenly birthday, so I just wanted to give Mike a shout out today.
Absolutely.
Such a big part of the history of this radio station, and he is greatly missed. He was seriously a great guy. Reese, thank you. Have a great night. If you're heading into Hartford right now, westbound 84, tied up 50.
All right, sir.
All right, sir.
We have an accident blocking the left two lanes.
See you
left
mañana.
and
See ya
stay to the right there.
tomorrow.
Hey, what do you...
84 eastbound,
you're off
slowing 48
this coming
Capitol
Friday?
Avenue into
Yeah.
Okay.
91 southbound slows 33
Okay,
down to
I'll be
32
prepared.
A and B.
Coming back, rich man.
Cromwell up
You better.
into going well east of the river.
buddy.
Two westbounds.
All right.
Up to the.
All right, everybody. Thank you. As usual, crazy Monday with a whole bunch of news. Try not to make it all about the Iran stuff. I know that can get overwhelming. I almost feel like no one wants to cover any other stories. That's all they want to talk about. I didn't even talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder. Well, I don't think anybody really cared. I'll check and see what those ratings are. All right, but I will see you guys tomorrow. God bless. Be good. You know I love you. And be good to each other. Thanks for hanging out.